Chapter 2695 One Wrong Move. From the 5th to the 10th, Xiaomo has some business and needs to go out. First, he will go to Shanghai to attend the annual meeting, and then he will transfer to Wuhan to get a bank card, so the update may be a bit slow. I will try my best to keep updating, please forgive me. Yang Kai shook his head and said, "It's useless for you to tell me, please tell Elder Tan directly to watching C, since this formation is used by you, you should be able to contact her." Hearing this, Tan Junhao frowned, looking a little impatient, and said, "Little friend Yang, please forgive me for not being able to agree to this request." "Why?" Yang Kai frowned. Tan Junhao said, "Now the number 1 private room is isolated from the old man's formation and is not controlled by the old man. The old man's voice cannot be heard there. If it was just now, he could still do this, but with Gong Tai's actions and deployment methods, the number 1 private room has completely escaped his control. You can get a glimpse of everyone's ability in a formation. Is there such a thing?" Yang Kai was surprised, but he was overjoyed in his heart. In this way, he didn't have to worry about watching C and the others' safety. He was still thinking that watching C and the others had been infected with the mind-stimulating GU, and life and death were in Tan Junhao's hands at any time, allowing him to be restrained everywhere. Hearing what Tan Junhao said, he was overjoyed. Since the number 1 private room is out of his control, and even the sound cannot be transmitted, it is probably an extravagant hope to control the heart-stimulating voodoo to kill people. From the looks of it, it was a good fortune to save that patriarch Gong casually. Okay, the old man has satisfied my little friend's request, now it's my little friend's turn to satisfy the old man's wish. Tan Junhao looked at Yang Kai and said. Yang Kai sighed heavily and said helplessly, "I hope I didn't believe Elder Tan wrongly." While speaking, as if accepting his fate, he flicked the mysterious boundary bead towards Tan Junhao with a flick of his fingers. Tan Junhao's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly reached out to grab the Xuanjiaju. He didn't see Yang Kai doing anything on the mysterious boundary bead, in other words, he seemed to really rather hand over the mysterious boundary bead to redeem his mother-in-law. But for some reason, just when he was about to catch the mysterious boundary bead, Tan Junhao suddenly felt restless. With his level of strength, he is particularly dependent on his own intuition, and when he senses something is wrong, he hurriedly mobilizes Yuewen to guard his body, keeping his eyes fixed on the mysterious boundary bead to prevent any accidents. At this moment, a black vortex suddenly appeared in front of the mysterious boundary pearl, like a void corridor connecting the 2 heavens and the earth. Immediately afterwards, from the black vortex, an incomparably huge fist protruded leisurely. Above the fist, existences like bone spurs stood upside down, hideous and terrifying, like sharp spears. With the bombardment of the fist, it came straight to him. Tan Junhao's face changed drastically in an instant, his eyes widened instantly, and he hurriedly raised his palms to meet him. Ha 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 ha. A loud laugh came, but it was Yang Kai who followed closely behind the mysterious boundary pearl and bullied him. "Forgive you for being a ghost, but you have to drink this young man's foot-washing water, old dog Tan, suffer death." At the juncture of life and death, Tan Junhao had a flash of light in his mind, and suddenly recognized what the hell this huge fist was, and exclaimed, "Stone puppet." From the secret revealed by watching C, Tan Junhao knows that in Yang Kai's mysterious boundary bead, there is a stone puppet hiding in it all year round. It is said that the stone puppet is so tall that it looks like a hill. But watching C also said that although the stone puppet is infinitely powerful, its real strength is no more than a warrior at the first level of Emperor Senior. As long as it uses the speed of its movement to deal with it, it is not difficult to deal with. So Tan Junhao has not paid much attention to the so-called stone puppet all the time. He is also a 3rd-layer emperor. No matter how powerful the stone puppet is, it is useless if he cannot hit him. When he first saw the huge barbed fist just now, he couldn't remember it. Although I remembered it now, it was too late. What made him even more horrified was that the power of this punch could not only be punched by a warrior at the 1st level of the Emperor, but the violent power on it, even at the 3rd level, he would not dare to take it lightly. Not only that, this stone puppet's fist seemed to be mixed with another kind of power, a kind of power that frightened him. Tan Junhao didn't know that the stone puppet was already refining the source of the stone fire, and once the refining was completed, it could become the Holy Spirit stone fire. Although it is not completely refined now, the power of this blow already has a trace of the power of the Holy Spirit, which is enough to crush the General Emperor Yuan. The stone puppet itself is still in the deep sleep refining the source of the stone fire, and it is impossible to complete the refining within a year or two, but it is Yongkai's Dharma body, and it is connected with Yongkai's mind. There is no problem with it sneaking up on Tan Junhao. The fist blasted from the mysterious boundary orb was originally the result of Yongkai's control. The price paid was not small, and the divine sense in the sea of consciousness flowed outward like a flood, which made Yongkai feel a bit of a headache. He was already shocked by the power of the fist, but when he heard Yongkai's shout, Tan Junhao was in a state of confusion, and with a wave of his hands, countless five-color light blades gathered in front of him, heading towards the fist of the Dharma body, and at the same time quickly retreated to the rear. Boom! The five-color light blades shattered together, and the huge fist slammed forward unabated. The sharp barbs pierced Tan Junhao's bodyguard Diwan, inserted into his body, and penetrated 3 points into his body. The violent power it poured out, and directly blasted him out, causing countless blood in the air, and it was unknown whether he was alive or dead. Yongkai went straight to Wu Ming. Although he called Tan Lagu to die, in fact, he didn't intend to trouble Tan Junhao at all. For the current plan, the top priority is naturally to rescue Kaiyu first, and the rest can be taken care of slowly. So when Yongkai jumped in front of Wu Ming hadn't reacted yet. Looking at each other, Wu Ming yelled. His face turned pale suddenly, and he yelled, "Don't come here, if you come here again, I'll kill her." While speaking, he flipped his wrist, and a treasured sword of the Emperor's weapon appeared in his hand, and he slashed at Chiyu fiercely. "Congeal!" Yongkai shouted loudly, the laws of space fluctuated, and the space where Wu Ming and Kaiyu were located instantly froze. The treasured knife that was slashing towards Kaiyu also stagnated slightly, and in such a split second, Yongkai had already snatched Kaiyu back from Wu Ming's control, and flew up and rolled it on Wu Ming's head. With a scream, Wu Ming flew out in response, tumbling continuously in midair, and fell heavily to the ground, losing an unknown number of teeth. To be honest, Wu Ming is a second-level Emperor Senior, and even if he is not Yongkai's opponent in a life-and-death fight, it is impossible for him to be sent flying in a face-to-face encounter, but he was taught a lesson by Yongkai before, and his heart is already in his heart. I felt jealous and frightened towards Yongkai, seeing that my master had suffered a big loss at this moment. How could I still have the mind to fight with Yongkai? Fighting timidly in my heart, I naturally have no power to fight back. "Senior, are you all right?" Yongkai scanned Kaiyu with his divine sense, checking her condition. Kaiyu blushed slightly, tightened her tattered clothes, and shook her head. "It's okay, it's just that my cultivation has been sealed." Yongkai still wanted to say something, but suddenly his face turned cold. He looked up in a certain direction, gritted his teeth and said, "Life is really hard, it's worthy of being a third-order emperor." Over there, a strong aura suddenly permeated. In the darkness, Tan Junhao walked out step by step. He had long since lost his previous immortal appearance. His face was ferocious as if he wanted to eat people, and his eyes were full of hatred and anger. Color. There were several big holes in his body, and a piece of his chest was slightly sunken, which should be the result of being punched by the Dharma body just now. Not everyone can take that punch from the fashion. But at this moment, he didn't know what method he used to stop the flow of blood, but the soap robe was covered with blood. "Junior dare to bully me, you deserve to die." Tan Junhao gritted his teeth and drank in a low voice. His voice was like the cold wind blowing from the 9 nether purgatory, making people shudder. As he spoke, his hands moved slightly. Kaiyu, who was standing beside Yongkai, suddenly let out a muffled snort and let out a terrible cry. Yongkai was shocked, turned his head to look, and saw a bulge on Kaiyu's neck quickly shuttled under the skin, as if something was swimming inside. "Heart-stimulating Gu," Yongkai whispered. Kaiyu's current situation is the same as watching sea before, it was clearly planted with the heart-stimulating Gu. Tan Junhao was furious now, obviously planning to kill Kaiyu first to take revenge. "Despicable," Yongkai scolded angrily, stretched out his hand and made a move. The mysterious boundary orb immediately flew back, his divine sense moved slightly, and the Kaiyu beside him disappeared immediately, and he had already been sent into the mysterious small boundary. Tan Junhao, who was casting a spell to stimulate the mind-stimulating Gu, frowned, feeling that his connection with the mind-stimulating Gu was suddenly broken, and gritted his teeth and cursed, "Damn it." Mysterious Shaoji became a world of its own. Yongkai collected the power of the source many times to perfect the laws of heaven and earth in mysterious Shaoji. The heart-stimulating Gu is amazing, but in 2 worlds, Tan Junhao couldn't drive the heart-stimulating Gu to be his own. contribute, unless he has the ability to break through the blockade of the laws of heaven and earth in the mysterious Shaoji, and transmit his thoughts to the mysterious Shaoji. Even the great emperor might not be able to do this kind of thing, let alone Tan Zhenwu. Ha ha, Yang Kai laughed, his spiritual sense connected to mysterious Shaoji, and after finding out that he was sent in, Kai Yu's expression was much more peaceful, and the heart-stimulating Ji that surged around her neck quickly calmed down, knowing what she was doing. That's right, no more worries. Tan Zhenwu's face was ashen, as if his parents had died. He planned everything well, but when he really faced Yang Kai, he was deflated everywhere and felt very depressed. Damn Gong Tai, he cursed again in his heart. If he had known that Gong Tai had such abilities, he should have captured him sooner. Now Gong Tai has stabilized the space in number 1 room with the power of the formation. There was nothing he could do to the people inside. Today's number 1 room, just like Shaoxuanji, has become an independent space, which is beyond his control. If this is not the case, there are still a few hostages over there, who can come over and threaten Yang Kai at any time. This is also the reason why he didn't interfere with Wat Qingxi's sending those hostages over in the previous auction. Anyway, he can get them back at any time, and send them over. One wrong move, and the whole game is lost. Life is really like chess. Old Dog Tan, what methods do you have? You might as well use them all, lest you die later. Yang Kai was in a good mood, and began to sneer. Chapter 2696. Please respect yourself. Today until the 10th, people are out of town, the update will be a bit slow, sorry. The main reason is to delay the time. Just now, he controlled the Dharma body to punch him from the mysterious boundary bead, which caused him to consume too much spiritual power. He still has some headaches. Spirituality is also recovering rapidly. Tan Zhenwu has already been seriously injured, the punch of the Dharma body is not easy to endure, even facing Tan Zhenwu who is in full bloom. Yang Kai also has the confidence to fight, not to mention that he is not at the peak now. He has never met before but came to conspire against him. Yang Kai is going to kill him here. Junior looking for death, Tan Zhenwu shouted angrily, raised his hands, grasping the power of the world, gritted his teeth and said, "If you dare to disobey this old man, today this old man will make you understand." After the voice fell, suddenly there were many figures gathered around. Yang Kai frowned, looked at those figures, and soon found that these people were all Emperor Senior stage. Although most of them are at the first level of Emperor Senior, there are also a few at the second level of Emperor Senior, and many of them look familiar. They seem to be the elders of the major sects who participated in the auction before. There are a lot of people, 20 or 30 people. These emperors appeared mysteriously, and all of them were at a loss. After Tan Zhenwu started to operate the formation, they were all separated, placed in an endless darkness, always looking for a way out but still unable to find a way out. Turn up. An inexplicable force emerged, dragging them all in here, and when they turned around, they immediately found Yang Kai and Tan Zhenwu. Seeing the injuries on Tan Zhenwu's body again, these Emperor Senior Realm members were all terrified and secretly terrified. Tan Zhenwu exuded a strong aura of Emperor Senior 3-layer at this moment, and he was injured. The injury looked quite serious, and there was only one Yang Kai standing there besides him. Could this injury be caused by that young man named Yang Kai? He is a first-level emperor, what ability can he hurt the third level? Ah, Elder Tan. A middle-aged man looked at Tan Zhenwu carefully, and suddenly exclaimed, stepped forward and said, "I met Elder Tan, why are you here?" Tan Zhenwu glanced at him, nodded and said, "Do you recognize this old man?" The middle-aged man apologized and said with a smile, "More than 10 years ago, I was fortunate enough to be rewarded by the Star God Palace to enter the super-secret place to practice for a while. I saw Elder Tan from afar back then. Elder Tan probably doesn't remember me." Although this middle-aged man is also a sect master, he is only at the first level of Emperor Zun, and his sect is only at the second-rate level in the entire southern region. How can he dare to trust the elders of the Star God Palace? It was also that time when he was rewarded by the Star God Palace and practiced in the heaven-level secret ground. He was lucky enough to break through to the Emperor Senior realm. He was very grateful to Xingshan Palace, and now when he first saw the elders of Xingshan Palace, he was naturally extremely respectful. Tan Zhenwu nodded slightly and didn't say much. But what the middle-aged man said surprised everyone else. Elder Tan, Star God Palace, could it be? Although most of the Emperor Senior realm present did not recognize Tan Zhenwu, and had never even met him, they all had some vague guesses at the moment. The Star God Palace is the great Emperor's sect, and to become an elder, one must be at the third level of the Emperor Senior realm, and the third level of the Emperor Senior level. Even in the Star God Palace, there are not many people, there are only a few people in total. I have never seen Tan Junhao, but everyone has heard of Tan Junhao's name. Everyone's heart trembled. They all stepped forward and clasped their fists and said, "I've seen Elder Tan." "You don't need to be too polite." Tan Junhao waved his hand slightly, showing the posture of an expert. The middle-aged man who spoke before said with a sullen face, "Elder Tan, who is so bold to attack you? He even injured you." Tan Junhao's face turned cold, he looked towards Yang Kai, and said, "It's this little friend, the old man accidentally managed to sneak attack for him." Yang Kai curled his lips violently. "Although what I said is correct, I did succeed in the sneak attack, but if you didn't take the initiative to find fault, what would I do to sneak attack a third-layer emperor for no reason?" The middle-aged man was furious when he heard the words, and shouted at Yang Kai, "Sure enough, you are an evil beast. Elder Tan is the elder of the Star God Palace, with a respected status and a noble status. Hundreds of millions of fighters in the domain. It is your honor to meet Elder Tan, you little villain. Not only do you not know how to show gratitude, but you even make a surprise attack. Roll over quickly to apologize. Elder Tan may be kind enough to spare your life. If you are still stubborn, I will kill you." The words were powerful and resounding. Tan Junhao was in a good mood when he heard that, with a smile on his face. On the other hand, the expressions of the other emperors were different. They were not like the middle-aged man. They did not receive much favor from the Star God Palace. Although they had admiration for the Star God Palace, they would not kneel down and lick Tan Junhao's head. But it's hard to refute anything, just standing quietly, looking at Yang Kai with sympathy. At the auction before, Yang Kai mentioned the elder of the Star God Palace, but now it seems that the elder of the Star God Palace is Tan Junhao. I really don't know how he became enmity with Tan Junhao and offended Tan Junhao. Is there any way out in this southern region? The young man is really full of energy and blood, and he doesn't know how to restrain himself. Hey, I don't know who it is. It turned out to be the friend who ate 3 caddies of feces in room 13, no wonder the place suddenly smells so bad." Yang Kai squinted at the middle-aged man, stretched out his hand and slapped the fan air before. "What? It turned out to be him. Did you really eat it?" This. Hearing the words, many emperors stared at the middle-aged man with wide-eyed eyes, and what's more, they jumped to the side in an instant, widening the distance from the middle-aged man, with disgusted expressions on their faces, as if they were genuine. "It smells like a stink." In an instant, there was no one around the middle-aged man, as if separated by an invisible big hand. Even Tan Junhao frowned, looking at the middle-aged man with a strange expression. "You." The middle-aged man stretched out his hand and pointed at Yang Kai angrily, his face flushed red, he was ashamed and angry. Everything he encountered in room 13 was simply the greatest insult in his life. At that time, he only felt that being killed by Yang Kai was better than being humiliated like this, but the hatred in his heart made him drag himself along, and he secretly planned to find a chance to take revenge. Just now when Tan Junhao used the power of the formation to teleport him, he saw Yang Kai and guessed that the injury Tan Junhao suffered was related to Yang Kai, so he couldn't wait to be the first one to jump out and use the name of Tan Junhao to give Yang Kai pressure. Who would have thought that he would be severely humiliated by Yang Kai again? The contemptuous and disgusting gazes around him made him feel like a thorn in his back. Wishing he could find a hole in the ground and burrow down, he hurriedly said, "Everyone, don't listen to this kid's nonsense, that person is not me." No one believed him. He had spoken in the auction venue before, and everyone could hear him clearly. Looking back now, it was indeed the same person's voice. "Little bastard, I'm at odds with you." Seeing that there was no response, the middle-aged man knew that his reputation had been completely ruined. If someone mentions him in the future, he might be the first to think of him. Yang Kai raised his head and curled his lips, said, "I'm sorry, I don't talk to people who eat shit, please respect yourself." PFF'd. The middle-aged man's energy and blood surged, and he had nowhere to vent his anger, but he was forced to suffocate a mouthful of blood. Confused, he just wanted to kill Yang Kai right now, gritted his teeth and shouted angrily, "I'll fight you." With a flash of brilliance in his hand, a sharp sword appeared leisurely. Yuan urged it fiercely, wrapped his body in the sword light and slashed towards Yang Kai. Such an angry attack could almost be said to be the full-out effort of the middle-aged man at the first level of Emperor Senior Realm. Even the many Emperor Senior Realm present couldn't help but look a little shivering, not daring to underestimate him in the slightest. On the other hand, Yang Kai showed disdain, sneered proudly, and suddenly appeared a wide heavy sword in his hand. With a lift of his wrist, he held the heavy sword on his shoulder, and said coldly, "Since you are begging to die, then this less will fulfill you." Death. The middle-aged man shouted loudly, his cultivation almost completely exploded, and he rushed to Yang Kai in the blink of an eye. Yang Kai stepped forward and raised his shoulders. On the top of the million swords, the sword light grew steeply. He raised the million swords high and slashed forward with one sword. There was no trick at all, but the power of this sword seemed to be shatter the sky and make everyone change color. Stab. As if the golden silk was torn apart, the radiant sword light that flew in front of Yang Kai suddenly split into two. Passing by Yang Kai's side, the dazzling light was instantly extinguished, fell heavily on the ground, and rolled away. It gradually stopped. Hiss. There was a gasping voice, and the pairs of unbelievable eyes were filled with shock and horror. On both sides of Yang Kai's back, there was a long trail of blood. On the ground, the broken internal organs were scattered, and behind him, it was a corpse that had been split in half, lying on the spot. The power of that sword was to split a first-level Emperor Senior Realm alive. And it seems that Yang Kai just hit casually, without any force at all. Although everyone knew Yang Kai's strength for a long time, and felt that the middle-aged man could not be Yang Kai's opponent, they never thought that he would be so vulnerable. No, it's not that he is vulnerable, it's that Yang Kai's strength is against common sense. At the auction, he killed the old man in room 7 with one punch and one sword, which made everyone realize his terrifying combat power, but it was only now that everyone realized that they still underestimated him. Yang Kai shook off the blood on the million sword, grinning and said, "Where you are, you can leave as you please, do you want to stay and watch the show?" Tan Junhao suddenly brought so many Emperor Senior Realms here, certainly not to let them watch the show. He is probably planning something, maybe he wants to use the hands of these Emperor Senior Realms to deal with him. Yang Kai is unwilling to be enemies with so many people, his current target is only Tan Junhao. Feeling the badness in Yang Kai's words, and thinking about the lessons learned from the past, many emperors couldn't help fighting a cold war. Although they felt that this young man was domineering and arrogant, and he was even arrogant at the auction, but he did have this capital. He is naturally unwise to be an enemy. What's more, they have no grudges with Yang Kai himself, so they are not willing to provoke him easily. To be continued. Chapter 2697. All controlled. Those who can cultivate to the Emperor's senior stage are not fools, so they naturally know how to judge the situation. How can they be willing to intervene in the grievances between Yang Kai and Tan Junhao? Immediately, someone clasped his fists and said, "Elder Tan, I still have important matters to attend to, so let's go ahead. Turn around and leave after speaking." The others glanced at each other, and they all stepped forward to say goodbye. In the blink of an eye, more than half of them scattered away, and some of them were still frowning and hesitated. They seem to have figured out whether this trip is a blessing or a curse, and that it is a disaster that cannot be avoided. Tan Junhao summoned them here for no reason, and arranged a formation in advance. Obviously, they will not let them leave easily. Tan Junhao will be offended. For a moment, I felt very annoyed. I felt that I shouldn't have come to Liang City to participate in some auctions, but now I was dragged into a pool of muddy water for no reason, and it was a luxury to get out. Sure enough, seeing those Emperor Prestige realms scattered in all directions, Tan Junhao snorted softly and said loudly, "Do you think you can get away?" Those emperors stopped and turned their heads to look at Tan Junhao. The person who spoke before frowned and said, "Elder Tan, what do you mean by that?" There was a hint of questioning in the words. Even if Tan Junhao is an elder of the Star God Palace, with a respected status and superior strength, there is no reason to restrict the freedom of these emperors, right? It is Yang Kai who has enmity with him, not people like himself. But hearing the meaning of Tan Junhao's words, it seems, something is wrong. Tan Junhao said indifferently, "It's nothing. It's just that the old man has set up a large formation here, and no one can leave without the old man's permission." When everyone heard the words, their expressions changed abruptly. The person who spoke before frowned and said, "Elder Tan, I respect you as the elder of the Star God Palace, and the Star God Palace is the overlord of my southern region, protecting my billions of warriors in the southern region. Please give me some advice. What should we do? What can I do to get out of here?" If someone else does this, the Emperor prestige realm here will probably turn their backs immediately, and their freedom will be restricted for no reason. Who can tolerate such a thing? But Tan Junhao was different, not to mention his powerful cultivation at the third level of the Emperor. Even as an elder of the Star God Palace, no one would dare to presumptuously in front of him. So even if this person is angry in his heart, he must not suppress his anger and ask carefully. Yes, Elder Tan, please give me some pointers. Someone immediately echoed. Tan Junhao smiled slightly, and said, it's easy to leave here. Pointing to Yang Kai, he said, help me kill him, and I will let you leave this place. Everyone's eyes widened in an instant, and the bitterness in their mouths was too much to eat 100 caddies of Coptus chinensis. Everyone saw Yang Kai committing murders several times before, knowing that this young man's strength is shining through, and he is extremely difficult to provoke. No one in the Emperor Senior stage present has the confidence to survive under his hands. Now Tan Junhao told them to deal with Yang Kai. Isn't this pushing them into the fire pit? Is this the goddamn elder of the Star God Palace? For a moment, everyone felt that the image of the Xingshan Palace as a majestic signboard collapsed in their minds, and they were not to mention disappointed with the Xingshan Palace. The Xingshan Palace is the overlord sect of the southern region. If the elders in it are so unreasonable and use their power to overwhelm others, who will respect them? Elder Tan, are you kidding me? We have no enmity with this little brother. Yes, Elder Tan, please hold your hand high and let me wait. For a while, the crowd was excited, but facing Tan Junhao, everyone restrained their anger and did not dare to be too rude. Tan Junhao was unmoved, and said loudly, this son is extremely disrespectful to the old man. He not only insulted the old man, but also injured the old man's disciples, and even robbed the old man of a treasure. If you can help the old man subdue him, the old man will have a big thank you. It's his fault that there are such things. That's right, Elder Tan is an elder of the Star God Palace after all. It's really wrong to dare to insult Elder Tan and snatch the treasure. Apologize, absolutely apologize. A group of people were bluffing. On the surface they were all agreeing with Tan Junhao, but in fact they had no substantive meaning at all, and they were all messing with each other. No one is a fool, just relying on Tan Junhao's empty promises to find trouble with Yang Kai. Doesn't this mean that his life is too long? Yang Kai looked at it cheerfully, and couldn't help shouting at this time, Old Dog Tan, you are also an elder of the Star God Palace, and your strength is 2 levels higher than this young master, and you still want to invite helpers to deal with this young master. If you want to be shameless, don't implicate innocent people if you have the ability, and come here to fight alone with this young master. As soon as this remark came out, everyone had a good impression of Yang Kai in their hearts, and felt that what he said was reasonable. The grievances between the two of you, what implicates us innocent people, this Elder Tan is really inexplicable. Tan Junhao's face sank, he glared at Yang Kai bitterly, then glanced at everyone, and said, you really don't want to help this old man. Everyone's expressions were awkward and their eyes wandered, but no one responded. It was the person who spoke first who said with indignation, Elder Tan, don't force others to make things difficult for you. The world's affairs are nothing more than a word of reason. You can solve the matter between you and this little brother yourself. With Elder Tan's practice because, wanting to take him down is just as easy as pie, so why should I wait for it? This man has a full beard and looks extremely heroic, not a man with a deep scheming mind. Tan Junhao's various actions made him extremely displeased, and at this moment, he was talking with guns and sticks in his words. Tan Junhao glanced at him coldly, and suddenly made a fist with one hand. The bearded man immediately screamed, as if he had suffered some serious injury, his whole body trembled violently, and a bulge immediately appeared on the neck and moved quickly under the skin. What's going on? Everyone was shocked, and they all jumped away from the bearded man, for fear of being hurt by Caillou. Brother Liu, a martial artist familiar with the bearded man shouted loudly. But this martial artist surnamed Liu acted as if he had never heard of it, and let out a miserable scream. After a while, his face turned pale and his whole body was drenched in sweat. Stab! He suddenly tore off the clothes on his chest, widened his bloodshot eyes, and looked down at his chest, only to see that little bump running under his skin, which was quickly burrowing into his heart. Go! What is this? Wu Jielu surnamed breathed a sigh of relief, stared at Tan Junhao and said, You, what did you do to me? Heart-stimulating Gu. Yang Kai's face changed, and he shouted in a low voice. Tan Junhao's method will never change, and he said calmly, if you dare to disobey this old man, this will be your end. After a pause, he reminded, by the way, don't run Yuan, otherwise you will only die faster. Quote. It's too late to say this, the martial artist surnamed Liu had already activated Yuan when he sensed something was wrong, and as Tan Junhao said, the more he activated Yuan, the faster the heart-stimulating Jiu would move. Kung Fu drilled in from the left chest. The piercing pain spread all over the body. The warrior surnamed Liu let out a roar, raised 2 fingers, and thrust into his chest suddenly. Blood spattered instantly. Looking at him like that, it seemed that he wanted to pull out the foreign body in his body. But before he could make a move, he heard a slight clicking sound, his heart pulse was broken, his eyes were rounded, and he fell straight on the ground. Hiss! Everyone was shocked, gasping for air, only feeling cold hands and feet. They didn't see any trace of Tan Junhao's attack before, they just pinched a spell, and the warrior surnamed Liu had already been hit by the heart-stimulating Jiu. It can be seen that the heart-stimulating Jiu had already been in the body of the warrior surnamed Liu. The martial artist surnamed Liu has been murdered, so what about himself? The answer was soon revealed, and Tan Junhao's magic skill changed again, his eyes swept across the audience. More than 20 Emperor Senior Realm present groaned in unison, and a small bump appeared under the skin of each of them, swimming towards the chest rapidly. Elder Tan, Yuewen, many Emperor Senior Realms couldn't believe it, and they didn't even know when they were hit by the heart-stimulating Jiu. Recalling the bits and pieces after entering the auction, someone suddenly realized that Tan Junhao nodded slightly, and said, that's right, the old man tampered with the tea. Yang Kai was also surprised, and at the same time felt a little thankful. Fortunately, he had put some thought into it before coming here. When drinking tea in the private room, it was Yi Jinghan who took out the tea set and tea leaves to make the tea. Otherwise at this moment, it would have been the same as these people were also affected by the mind-stimulating Jiu, and they played for Tan Junhao. Although the mind-stimulating Jiu is hard to defend against, even Emperor Senior Realm can't see any clues. It seems that Tan Junhao has been cultivating these mind-stimulating gus for some years, otherwise it would not have such great power, and there would not be so many Jiu insects. The old man was really insidious and cunning, he still used these means to deal with him with his third-layer Emperor Senior cultivation base. Elder Tan, you are crazy. Someone looked at Tan Junhao eagerly. There were as many as 20 or 30 Emperor Prestige Realm present, all over the major regions of the southern region. Once rumors of today's incident spread, the Star God Palace would be the first to kill him and clean up the sect. Dare to use this insidious method to deal with so many emperors in the southern region, how could Emperor Mingyu allow him to ruin the reputation of Star God Palace? But after thinking about it, as long as there is a heart-stimulating Jiu in the body, who would dare to spread today's events at will? I'm afraid that after today, people like myself are destined to become Tan Junhao's servants, and they obeyed. Thinking of this, everyone felt desolate, filled with unwillingness and anger, but had nowhere to vent. How did they know that Tan Junhao can do anything for the things in Yang Kai's hands? As long as he can get the Tree of Immortality, he can completely leave the Star God Palace and find a place to refine it. What can he do? At that time, even if something happened to the east window, he would not be afraid at all. It was with such a plan that Tan Junhao did not hesitate to use the mind-stimulating Jiu, and even kill the bearded man directly, as a warning to others. Whoever helps this old man kill him, this old man will definitely be rewarded. Tan Junhao pointed at Yang Kai, already tearing up the disguise. He didn't need to worry about anything anymore, and immediately ordered those Emperor Senior stage people. Everyone looked at each other with bitterness on their faces. To be continued. Chapter 2698 How to Kill. It is true that there are many people on our side, but if we really want to fight Yang Kai to the death, whether we can survive half of it is two things. No one wants to use their own life to create life for others. But if you don't obey Tan Junhao's order, you will undoubtedly end up like that big man with the surname Liu. For a while, everyone was in a dilemma. Tan Junhao naturally saw their concerns, snorted coldly, and changed the spell again. There were a lot of muffled groans again. Every Emperor Senior Realm had a hard expression, cold sweat dripped from their foreheads, the heart-stimulating Jiu worms under the skin quickly burrowed towards the heart, and some of them couldn't help howling in pain. It was so horrific that it made one's hair stand on end in one's ears. If the Jiu worm enters the heart, it will definitely die. Tan Junhao said lightly, if anyone can help the old man kill this son, the old man can drive out the heart-stimulating Jiu for him and return him to freedom. Big sticks and candied dates have always been the only way to enslave people's hearts. As the elder of Xingshan Palace, Tan Junhao is naturally very familiar with this trick. As soon as this remark came out, many people's eyes really brightened. This heart-stimulating Zhenwu is really tormenting. If it can be driven out, it is worth a fight. The most important thing is that they must die against Tan Junhao, and they still have a chance against Yang Kai. Such a simple choice, but it also makes people have no choice. When even someone couldn't bear the pain and the temptation of Tan Junhao's promise, he shouted, "Elder Tan must keep his word." Tan Junhao smiled slightly and said, "Of course the old man keeps his word. Okay, then Sha will help Elder Tan today. Who else is willing to advance and retreat with Sha?" When he spoke, he turned his head and looked around, and many emperors nodded one after another. Now that his arms can't hold his thighs, what can he do if he disagrees? The martial artist surnamed Sha won the support of everyone, and his confidence immediately increased. With a boost of momentum, Emperor Yuan suddenly started to run, and he was a strong second-tier emperor. Roar! Seemingly emboldened for himself, he rushed towards Yang Kai. Everyone else followed suit. E-novel network show.om. In an instant, 20 or 30 figures turned into streamers, attacking Yang Kai one after another. In midair, one after another secret technique bloomed with brilliance, one after another emperor treasure was sacrificed, turned into colorful rays of light and slashed towards Yang Kai. When someone made a move, they murmured, "Don't blame the little brother, I have no choice but to wait." Facing so many emperor senior realms suddenly, Yang Kai's pressure also increased sharply, as if a mountain was pressing on his heart, making him almost out of breath, but he looked up to the sky and screamed, looking forward and looking backward, "What is the Emperor Senior Realm? If you don't have the courage to fight life and death, don't take it lightly. Start the battle. The kid is rampant, die for me." Not everyone is ashamed of Yang Kai. Yang Kai's actions at the auction had already aroused public outrage, and now it is because of him, himself and others were controlled by Tan Junhao. The person who spoke did not dare to feel any resentment towards Tan Junhao after being under the Zongxia mental arousal Zhenwu, and only vented his anger on Yang Kai, thinking that as long as he killed Yang Kai, everything would be over. He was also merciless when he shot. Boom boom boom. 20 or 30 ferocious attacks enveloped Yang Kai's place in an instant. Each attack was a powerful means of the Emperor Senior Realm, and many magical powers bloomed together, and the scene was extremely chaotic. Tan Junhao's eyes narrowed. He paid for it with his own cultivation. Facing such an attack, he might not be able to escape serious injury or even death. But this kid surnamed Yang is proficient in the power of space. Although this attack is fierce, it may not be able to do anything to him. Although he blocked this world with the Defeng Yuan 5 elements formation, it only prevented Yang Kai from teleporting out of the formation. Within the formation, he was still able to come and go freely. If not, how could he not hesitate to use the power of these emperors? With him alone, he has the confidence to take down Yang Kai. After a while, the dust settled, and the place where all the attacks gathered was empty. "Dead," someone exclaimed. "There are so many comrades fighting. Even if that kid has 3 heads and 6 arms, he might not be able to survive. Hey, it's a pity for such a talented person. Ha ha ha, daring to be an enemy of Elder Tan is beyond self-control, and he deserves it if he dies." Someone laughed. Is less than or equal to novel is less than or equal to net, www. Is less than or equal to. Since Yang Kai is dead, now is naturally the time to flatter Tan Junhao. Maybe when he is in a good mood, he can expel the mind-stimulating Zhenwu in his body and return himself to freedom. Many people felt annoyed. If they had known that Yang Kai was so easy to deal with, they should have tried their best just now. Maybe they could win Tan Junhao a little favor. Puff. A strange sound came, although it was slight, but all the people present were in the Emperor Prestige realm. All of them had sharp ears and eyes, and they couldn't hear it anywhere. They all followed the sound, and after seeing clearly what happened, their faces changed drastically. I saw a thick sword tip protruding from the chest of the last person who spoke, and a ghostly figure was standing behind him, showing a stern profile. The man seemed to have sensed the coolness in his chest, and when he lowered his head, his eyes suddenly widened. Being the enemy of this young master, everyone must be prepared to die. Yang Kai's faint voice came from behind, but it was like a morning bell and evening drum in the ear of that person, shocking the soul. Before he could react anymore, Yang Kai exerted force on his wrist, and with a sound, he directly split the man into two. The blood was scattered, and the split corpse and internal organs scattered from the air, which made people's hearts skip a beat. An Emperor Senior 1 layer was unexpectedly killed by a sneak attack inexplicably. What is even more shocking is that no one found out how Yang Kai escaped and how he did it. Is my opponent such a elusive person? Everyone's heart was cold. Forgot to remind everyone, this kid is proficient in the power of space. Tan Junhao's voice sounded from the side. What? The power of space? Isn't that teleportation just now? I heard that people who are proficient in the power of space come and go without a trace, and their ability to escape and hunt is extremely strong. How can such a person be killed? Hearing Tan Junhao say that Yang Kai is proficient in the power of space, everyone's complexion changed again, and everyone scolded Tan Junhao bloody in their hearts. Why didn't they remind such important things earlier? Instead, he brought it up after he acted fiercely. Yang Kai's strength is already strong enough. If it wasn't for the heart-stimulating Gu, everyone present would be willing to follow Tan Junhao's order and become an enemy of him, and now they know that he is proficient in the power of space, and can even teleport. All of them were ashen-faced, and there was an idea that they would never kill him. Don't worry, the old man has a perfect arrangement, and he will help you. Tan Junhao said leisurely. It was obvious that everyone was helping him, but when it came to his mouth, it seemed that he was doing others a favor. Yang Kai raised the million sword, nodded at Tan Junhao, and with a sarcasm on his face, he swept towards those Emperor Senior stages, and shouted, I am not targeting anyone, but everyone present is rubbish. Seeing as you have no choice but to for the sake of this young master has kept his hand just now. If he is stubborn again, it will not be as simple as killing a person. Such arrogance made many people angry, but everyone knew that what he said was right. He did hold back just now. With his elusive method, he could at least kill 3 or 5 people in an instant. It seemed that he really didn't want to kill and cause trouble. Get the hell out of here. Once I get rid of old dog Tan, you will be free again. Yang Kailang shouted. Everyone couldn't help but be moved. Tan Junhao said in a deep voice, the boy is not ashamed to speak out, and the old man is also the one who kills you if you want. Huh. Before he finished speaking, his face suddenly darkened, and he flicked his big sleeves forward, bringing out a ray of light. Yang Kai suddenly appeared in front of him, slashed at him with a sword, hit the ray of light, and scattered the ray of light, and his body was also pushed back by a strong force. If you don't do anything, when will you wait? Tan Junhao shouted angrily. He is also very afraid of Yang Kai's elusive means. If he hadn't been careful just now, he might have succeeded. Seeing the hesitant faces of those Emperor Senior stage people, he couldn't help but urge him. When everyone heard the words, although they were reluctant, they could only grit their teeth and rush forward. However, with the previous lesson, this time everyone kept 70% of their strength to protect and guard their bodies when they shot, so as not to be caught off guard by Yang Kai again. There was a rumbling burst, and the brilliance of many secret techniques and emperor treasures bloomed again, bombarding Yang Kai. Yang Kai's figure flickered, and he was about to leave from where he was. But at this moment, Tan Junhao let out a sinister laugh, and suddenly a flag appeared in his hand, and he waved towards Yang Kai. In the void, a shocking force came suddenly, shaking Yang Kai's disappearing figure out again. Before he could stand still, all the attacks came in unison. Yang Kai was shocked, and the immortal 5 elements sword chi circulated suddenly. Even though these Emperor Prestige Realm didn't attack him with all their strength this time, it was 20 or 30 attacks. If they really ate them all, it would definitely be uncomfortable. He didn't expect that the formation formed by Tan Junhao would actually be able to crack his spatial magic power with the effect of the attack. He suffered a big loss at once, and now it is too late to dodge, so he can only resist and dodge desperately. A series of attacks came as scheduled, almost in no particular order, rolling the immortal 5 elements sword chi outside his body. The light was dim, and a wave of force bombarded the body surface, causing Yang Kai's internal organs to vibrate, and the blood in his chest to twitch. Seeing that the immortal 5 elements sword was about to fail, Yang Kai could only grit his teeth and growl, Dragon Transformation. A golden light flashed behind him, showing the figure of a giant dragon, and there was a crackling sound, and pieces of dragon scales appeared on Yang Kai's body surface, and his hands became the shape of dragon claws, greatly increasing the defense of his body. Boom boom boom. The rest of the attacks came one after another, only hitting Yang Kai's figure swaying from side to side, in a state of embarrassment. Puff. A mouthful of golden blood spurted out. Yang Kai tried his best to defend, blocking so many attacks was too much, his body was already injured. Hit, hit, someone muttered to himself, staring at all this in a daze. Most people couldn't believe it, as if they didn't expect their attack to hit Yang Kai. After all, his elusive figure made people really not confident to deal with it before, but they didn't want to not only hit him this time, but also make him suffer. Hurt. To be continued. Chapter 2699. Whoever does it will die. Phone reading. Tan Junhao laughed loudly. Space supernatural powers, nothing to be afraid of, what are you waiting for, kill him quickly. The martial artist surnamed Shah at the second level of Emperor Zun heard the words, waved his hands and shouted, go on, don't give him a chance to breathe. Pinchuang WWW. Versus ODTW. COMN Airy Summation. The morale of the crowd was greatly boosted, and each made a decision to activate the power of the secret art Emperor treasure. Yang Kai's face turned cold, and he glared at Tan Junhao bitterly, thinking quickly in his heart. As far as the current plan is concerned, as long as Tan Junhao is cleaned up, the rest of the people will not be afraid, and they will be so immortal with themselves only because of the heart-stimulating GU. If Tan Junhao dies, no one will threaten them with the heart-stimulating GU, these people will naturally no longer embarrass themselves. With a plan in mind, Yang Kai raised his head and shouted angrily, old dog Tan. When he uttered the first word, he had already fitted himself and rushed towards Tan Junhao, with a ferocious expression on his face. A pair of wind and thunder wings spread out leisurely behind him, curling up the sound of wind and thunder, turning into a stream of light, and rushed to Tan Junhao in the blink of an eye. The latter's face changed slightly when he saw it. Being so cruel in a predicament, not only is he not afraid of dozens of Emperor Senior realms, but he becomes even crazier. This kind of courage and heart is simply horrifying. He suddenly raised his hand, and a large 5-color light condensed in front of him, converging into 5-color light blades and slashing towards Yang Kai. It is the power of the Dianfeng Yuan 5 Elements formation, presided over by him, a powerhouse in the 3rd level Emperor Senior realm, and the power of each of these 5-color light blades is equivalent to a blow from an Emperor Senior realm. Chi 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 chi, countless 5-color light blades struck the sky and covered the sky. Yang Kai caught up head-on, the speed did not slow down, his hands clapped and pulled, a huge moon blade leisurely formed, and the pitch-black moon blade swayed out of its strong space force. Undulating, it looks as if a full moon has been bitten off by a nameless beast. The dark color is more like a chaotic void, and the aura it conveys is frightening. When the moon blade slashed out, the 5-color light blades shattered one after another, as if mirrors were smashed, turning into fluorescent light and dissipating in the world. Tan Junhao's eyes widened, and he said in amazement, space supernatural powers. It was the first time he had seen Yang Kai displaying his spatial supernatural powers against the enemy. It felt like an eye-opener. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I'm afraid I really couldn't believe that the space magic power was so lethal. Just a space blade broke his means. Yang Kai couldn't stop laughing. It's just a mere space supernatural power, let me die. He waved his hands repeatedly, and the moon blades, which were much smaller than the one just now, slashed towards Tan Junhao, but the number was many times greater. Tan Junhao shrank his eyes, quickly changed his hands, and said in a low voice, the power of the 5 elements. Concentrate it for me. The 5-color flower light gathered towards him again, conveying the breath of gold, wood, water, fire and earth, which interacted with each other and restrained each other, endlessly, forming a 5-color light shield in front of him at once, which looked as solid as gold. This is not over yet, Tan Junhao tapped his hand again, and a small shield flew out. It rises against the wind, and it suddenly becomes the size of a door. Block Tan Junhao directly behind. The shield exuded the aura of Emperor treasure, and it was obviously an extremely strong defensive Emperor treasure. It can be seen that under Yang Kai's ferocious attack, Tan Junhao is so afraid that he will make the defense so solid. Boom boom boom. The moon blade slashed on the 5-color light shield, and the brilliance of cutting the 5-color light shield flickered, and the color dimmed instantly. It took less than a breath of effort before it shattered, but the remaining moon blade was blocked by the Emperor's shield, and no one hurt Tan Junhao at all. Yang Kai was about to make another move, but a wave of violent energy surged up from behind, and all the attacks from the Emperor's senior stage also attacked. I gritted my teeth, urging the space supernatural powers, wanting to teleport away. Tan Junhao waved his battle flag again, and the shock force in the void made Yang Kai unable to hide. Kill the old man. Tan Junhao yelled angrily. I thought that this time the arrangement was thorough, and I personally took action to deal with Yang Kai, who was a mere Emperor Senior first level, but I didn't know that Yang Kai was so brave. Not only failed to take him down in a short time, on the contrary, he was forced into a panic by him, and even sacrificed the defensive Emperor treasure. He is a 3-layer mirror of Emperor Zun, and he really can't accept this fact. He didn't have the guts to confront Yang Kai head-on, so he could only command those Emperor Senior stage to work hard for him. The teleportation was cracked by Tan Junhao for the second time. Yang Kai didn't panic much, he was already prepared in his heart. Facing the power of dozens of secret techniques from the Emperor treasure, he moved up and down, dodging again and again. Even so, he only dodged less than half of the attacks, and the rest of the attacks left him bruised and bloody. If he didn't have the secret technique of transforming into a dragon, he would have been killed in this round alone. After transforming into a dragon, his defense power increased greatly, and the dragon scales on his body blocked most of the attack power, which allowed him to survive. It's not dead. Everyone was stunned. When they hit Yang Kai for the first time, they only used 30% of their strength, but this time, they used at least 70% of their strength. In the whole world, is there any Emperor Senior level that can take so many attacks? Standing firm. In an instant, many people were in awe. The strong can be respected no matter where they are, and Yang Kai's performance is enough to make these strong men who are also Emperor Senior realm feel ashamed. If there is no Tan Junhao in the heart-stimulating GU, they will definitely make friends with Yang Kai, but now they are not in the body. There is nothing you can do about it. In the aftermath, Yang Kai turned his head abruptly, his crimson eyes swept across those Emperor Senior stages one by one, his whole body was full of murderous intent, almost congealed into substance. Before, he planned to capture the thief first, capture the king first, and get rid of Tan Junhao, and everything would be settled, but now it seems that this plan is not feasible. Tan Junhao himself is not weak, and he has to be protected by a formation, so it will take a lot of effort to kill him. Some tricks. Furthermore, if he focuses on dealing with Tan Junhao, these Emperor-level attacks cannot be ignored, and there is no need for a few more rounds of attacks. As long as 2 rounds, he will really be unable to resist. Then deal with you guys first. Yang Kai roared, staring at the martial artist surnamed Sha. This guy has the cultivation base of Emperor Senior 2-layer, and he was merciless in both shots, and the 2 most serious injuries on his body, the injuries were all his masterpieces, and most of the others just followed suit, but he really showed his strength. It seemed that he hoped to perform in front of Tan Junhao, and then he would be able to release the heart-stimulating GU and return him to freedom. The warrior surnamed Sha met Yang Kai's eyes. His scalp was numb, as if he had sensed Yang Kai's thoughts. He hid himself in the crowd, waved his hands and shouted, "This kid has been seriously injured. It's almost over, everyone work harder." Yang Kai sneered, and said in his mouth, "Whoever does it will die." At the same time, his hands fluttered, his spells changed, his expression was solemn, and he whispered, "The years are dry and prosperous, and the shuttle is like a dream." A strange breath suddenly pervaded, and the time in the whole world seemed to have stopped. A strange feeling of time not moving forward emerged in everyone's heart. In a trance, when he reacted again, Yang Kai had already slapped fiercely in the direction of the martial artist surnamed Sha. The power that eroded the years suddenly erupted, and the warrior surnamed Sha couldn't dodge at all. He was hit by the time-like print all at once, spitting blood at the mouth, and flew out on his back. Not only him, but the people next to him have also become fish in the pond. Just now, the martial artist surnamed Sha hid in the crowd with a guilty conscience. Yang Kai's palm hit covered a huge space, so he didn't care if it would involve others, anyway. These guys have all attacked him before, and they are all sworn enemies. This is not far from there. Tan Junhao's eyes slowly widened, as if he remembered something. He stared at the martial artist surnamed Sha who flew out, carefully observed, and refused to let go of a single bit. I saw the warrior surnamed Sha staggering to his feet, but his expression was sluggish. Although there was nothing obvious on the outside, it seemed as if he had suffered a serious injury. He raised his hands in a daze, only to see that his 2 big hands withered away at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the power of the surging energy and blood dissipated quickly, as if endless time had been lost in him for thousands of years. Long. Gudong. There was a sound of swallowing saliva, and everyone felt horrified. What kind of supernatural power is this, which makes a 2nd-level Emperor Senior become so old in such a short period of time? Then I looked at the emperors who were implicated by the warriors surnamed Sha, and found that they were all the same. Their hair quickly changed from black to white, their cheeks were sunken, their eyeballs protruded, and the clothes that originally fit were also because of their bodies emaciated and out of shape and become empty. Time is like a shuttle seal. The supernatural power of Emperor Suiyu. Tan Junhao yelled frantically in his heart, trembling all over. As an elder of the Star God Palace, his knowledge is naturally not comparable to that of the General Emperor Senior Realm. He was only suspicious before, but after seeing the changes of several Emperor Senior Realm recruited, he immediately recognized that Yang Kai was using it. Time flies like a shuttle. It is rumored that this is a supernatural power involving the law of time. The law of time is more profound than the law of space, and it is more difficult to comprehend. That's right, this kid has been to the land of the Four Seasons, and the land of the Four Seasons is a hidden palace of the Emperor Suiyu. From this point of view, the imprint of the years is exactly what he gained in the land of the Four Seasons. However, how can a person be proficient in both the law of space and the law of time? What a terrifying understanding and opportunity this is. What kind of monster did he provoke? Frightened, Tan Junhao became more and more determined to tell Yang Kai to kill him here. If such a little monster was allowed to grow up, how could he feel safe? Hit by that spatial supernatural power, maybe there is still a glimmer of life. But if he was hit by the time-like shuttle seal, even if he didn't die, his vitality and blood would be almost consumed, and his lifespan would be greatly reduced. Back then, Emperor Suiyu ran across the world with the imprint of time like a shuttle, and he was almost invincible and famous. To be continued. Chapter 2700. Just when everyone was stunned, Yang Kai waved his wind and thunder wings and rushed into the crowd. The complexions of many Emperor Senior stages changed drastically, and they avoided him one after another, but none of them had the confidence to fight him. Yang Kai laughed loudly, like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, or entering a land without people. He rushed directly in front of the warrior surnamed Sha, wrapped in the sword light, and slashed at him with a sword. Although the martial artist surnamed Sha has been eroded by the years and his blood has been greatly reduced, especially the centipede is dead but not stiff. When he senses the crisis, he raises his hand, and the Emperor Yuan in his body circulates fiercely, and the Emperor treasure in the shape of a flying knife turns into a streamer, attacked Yang Kai, and retreated in fear at the same time. But even if he was in his heyday, he would never be Yang Kai's opponent, not to mention that the flying saber Emperor treasure, who was heavily injured and fired with all his strength, looked fierce but only scratched a wound on Yang Kai's waist. Yang Kai turned his body to avoid the flying saber Emperor treasure, passing through him with a sword. Bump! The martial artist surnamed Sha exploded into a ball of blood, and there was no bones left, only a space ring fell from midair. Everyone looked again, only to see Yang Kai covered in blood, standing in the void. His whole body seemed to be poured with blood, his hard and resolute face was full of murderous intent, but he was grinning grinningly, revealing a mouthful of snow-white fangs. It's like the god of death descending from heaven and earth, and no one dares to look directly at it. Invincible, can't be the enemy. Such thoughts emerged in everyone's mind, feeling that if they continue to be enemies with Yang Kai, they will surely die. Although Yang Kai killed a few people before, those few were only the first level of Emperor Senior, which is nothing, but the warrior surnamed Sha is a genuine second-level Emperor Senior. Even the second-level Emperor Senior, he is like a chicken and a dog in front of him. How can people like himself be his opponents? The timidity in my heart increased greatly, no one dared to attack Yang Kai anymore, and they all stood there in fear. Yang Kai's horizontal sword swept out, thousands of sword lights struck, and the other Emperor Senior realm who had been hit by the years of time were riddled with holes and killed instantly. The few of them did not have as high a cultivation base as the warrior surnamed Sha. After getting the time stamp, they were eroded by the power of time, and their strength was reduced to 8 out of 10. Want to die and want to live? Yang Kai tapped his million sword and asked everyone. As soon as this statement came out, everyone was shocked and overjoyed. They didn't dare to be enemies with Yang Kai anymore, they had no choice but to be hit by the heart-stimulating Jiu. If they didn't do it, Tan Junhao would be the first to let them go. Can people survive? Listening to Yang Kai's question at this moment, it seems like they are going to save their lives. At that moment, many people nodded and said, I want to live, I want to live. After a lifetime of hard work, overcoming thorns and thorns, he finally cultivated to the Emperor Prestige realm, admired by hundreds of millions of warriors, beauties, power and wealth, whatever they ask for. This good day has just begun. Who would want to die? If you want to live, stand there for me. Yang Kai raised his sword and pointed in one direction. Everyone immediately looked at each other in blank dismay, hesitating endlessly. If standing over there could save their lives, who would hesitate? The key is to see if Tan Junhao is willing to let them go. Sure enough, when Tan Junhao saw Yang Kai agitating those Emperor Senior stages, he immediately said in a deep voice, "If you listen to him, I'm afraid that death is not far away." Yang Kai snorted coldly, glanced at Tan Junhao, a trace of disdain flashed in his eyes, then turned his head to look at the crowd, and said, "If you believe me, stand over there, I will keep you safe. If you don't believe me, you can go to Ben again, give it a try and see if this young master can kill you all. The yellow-mouthed children are not ashamed, I want to see how you can keep them safe." Tan Junhao sneered, "This world has been suppressed and sealed off by the Defengyuan Five Elements formation, and everyone has been planted by him. The freedom of life and death is all here in a moment of his thought. Although Yang Kai is amazing, he can't even think about breaking his authority. Then you can see clearly with your dog's eyes." Yang Kai sneered, looked at everyone again and said, "I will give you 10 breaths of time, don't wait when it expires, and those who don't stand there after 10 breaths will be killed without mercy." Everyone's expressions changed when they heard the words, and they were so aggrieved that they were dying. A Tan Junhao and a Yang Kai are not something they can easily provoke, but now they are implicated in it, and the resentment in their hearts can be imagined. Continue to obey Tan Junhao and be driven by him. I am afraid that there is not much chance to survive, but if Yang Kai can really keep them safe, it is not a bad idea. The most important thing is that Yang Kai is not so annoying compared to Tan Junhao. Although he is rampant, he is also somewhat moral. At the beginning, he didn't think about killing people, and he had to kill a few people just now. Everyone's mind was full of thoughts, weighing the pros and cons. Yang Kai and Tan Junhao didn't rush, just stood there quietly. It doesn't matter to Yang Kai, if these people don't know each other, at worst, they will all be killed. If they can trust him once, it will allow him to save some strength. The price he needs to pay to kill these people is definitely not small, and there is Tan Junhao who is eyeing him, and the Emperor's 3-layer mirror is not so easy to deal with. "Young Master Yang, I believe in you." Suddenly a woman opened her mouth to drink loudly, and she was the first to stand up and fly to the place Yang Kai designated. Yang Kai glanced at her and nodded slightly. He has a little impression of this woman. When everyone was fighting him just now, this woman didn't seem to use much force, obviously she didn't want to really offend him. Seeing him looking over, the woman moved her red lips, and said via voice transmission, "I am Sha Sheng's friend." Yang Kai raised his brows, and then looked at her again, and understood that the reason why she chose to believe in him was not because she knew who she was, but because of Sha Sheng. She probably also heard her name from Sha Sheng, and knew that she was also from Qingyang Temple. With a hard move, the sound transmission said, "Since you are Sha Sheng's friend, you are also my Yang Kai's friend. If you say you are safe, you will be safe." The woman was overjoyed when she heard the words, felt Yang Kai's confidence, and secretly felt that she had made the right bet this time, although she didn't know what other means Yang Kai had, but since he said so, there must be a way. With a move in his heart, he shouted coquettishly, "I'm afraid you don't know yet, this Mr. Yang is the core disciple of the Qingyang Temple, and Master Wen Zishan values it very much. If today's news is spread, everyone thinks there are still others in the southern region. Is there a place to stand? Qingyang Temple." Everyone was startled. It was the first time they knew about such a thing, and they thought to themselves that this kid surnamed Yang is so young, but his strength is so superb, he turned out to be the core disciple of Qingyang Temple. Although the Qingyang Temple is not comparable to the Star God Palace in the southern region, it is still a top sect. Yang Kai is the core disciple of the Qingyang Temple, so he can be trusted once. Even if he died, it was his own choice, better than being driven by Tan Junhao. As soon as he changed his mind, many people flew towards the woman and landed beside her, and a dozen people responded to the woman's call immediately. Although the rest of the people hesitated, they all moved closer to the woman under the general trend. Unless they are willing to believe in Yang Kai, the main reason is that so many people joined forces before and couldn't do anything to Yang Kai, and he killed one person and turned his back on his back, and died several people. Now these remaining people really dare not face Yang Kai again. It's sharp. Seeing this scene, Tan Junhao's face turned livid immediately, and he snorted coldly, "Are you sure you want to choose this way?" Everyone didn't answer. They all looked at Yang Kai, thinking that if you have any means, you should use it quickly, otherwise Tan Junhao will have a thought later, and I will die here. Yang Kai said with a long smile, "Tan Lagu, what I want in my heart is not comparable to your conspiracy. Tan Junhao vomited blood angrily, gritted his teeth and said, "Very good, since that's the case, then I can't keep you guys." He stared fixedly at the woman, apparently intending to kill her first, as a warning to others. Everyone's face changed drastically, and they all exclaimed, "Young Master Yang." "Don't worry." Yang Kai waved his hand and reached out to grab it in the void. A small clock suddenly appeared in the palm of his hand. The small clock is simple, with countless patterns of flowers, birds, fish and insects, mountains and rivers engraved on it. There was an extremely strong savage power, giving people the illusion of suddenly returning to the prehistoric era. What is this?" Tan Junhao paused his hands, stared at the mountain clock with wide eyes, and suddenly felt a throbbing feeling deep in his heart, instinctively aware of the horror of this small clock. "Turtle." Yang Kai glanced at Tan Junhao contemptuously, and threw the mountain and river clock towards the crowd, and said in his mouth, "Big big." As expected, the mountain and river clock rose in the wind, suddenly becoming bigger than the house, and fell with a bang, enveloping everyone in it. "Whoever you are, anyone who dares to betray this old man will die." Tan Junhao was completely pissed off by Yang Kai's words, and without any scruples, a pinch of the magic art in his hand will activate the heart-stimulating Jiyu and kill them all. Those emperors who betrayed themselves. Yang Kai sneered and watched, holding his hands on his chest, looking like an old god. In fact, he was still a little nervous. Although he knew that the mountain and river clock had the reputation of ringing the rivers and mountains, and the emperor's rhyme turned the universe, and that it had the ability to guard the heaven and the earth, but whether it could cut off Tan Junhao's connection with those heart-stimulating gusts, at most there is only 70% certainty. If it can't be isolated, the more than 20 emperors who are suppressed in the mountains and rivers are afraid that they will die in peace. However, under his observation, Tan Junhao's face suddenly changed, with an unbelievable expression, and the changing spell also stopped. Yang Kai laughed out loud, knowing that his guess was correct. Shan Bell really isolated him from the heart-stimulating Jiyu. Is this a rare treasure, the mountain and river clock?" Tan Junhao only belatedly shouted. Yang Kai clapped his hands and praised, "Old dog Tan, you have good eyesight." Sometimes, Yang Kai also has to admire the knowledge of these old monsters who have lived for countless years. They can often tell the history of many things, which is probably the benefit of living for a long time. To be continued. Chapter 2701 Golden Armor Heavenly Book. Phone reading. "You actually got the mountain and river bell?" Tan Junhao exclaimed in surprise. He recognized the mountain and river bell, but how can he not know the origin of this thing? It is said that this bell is a rare treasure, inherited from ancient times, and it has been in the wild ancient land before. That is, the several powerful holy spirits were powerless against this mountain and river clock and could not subdue it. Tens of thousands of years ago, there was an emperor who entered the wild ancient land, and by chance, he was recognized by Shan Zhong and brought him out of the ancient land. Within 100 years, this emperor Venerable third-layer powerhouse spied on the Tao and was promoted to the position of great emperor. That man was the legendary Emperor Yuanding. In that era, Emperor Yuanding, who held a mountain and river bell, was also an absolute powerhouse, and his strength among the emperors was definitely ranked among the top 3. Unfortunately, he was killed by the Heaven Devourer in the Battle of Emperors. This prehistoric treasure is nowhere to be found. It is rumored that this thing was left in the Sea of Broken Stars, but the Sea of Broken Stars has been opened countless times in the past tens of thousands of years, and no one has the chance to see it. Tan Junhao never expected that after tens of thousands of years, this thing would bloom again with amazing brilliance in Yang Kai's hands. The Sea of Broken Stars was only opened a few years ago. It seems that this kid surnamed Yang must have entered the Sea of Broken Stars, and it was from there that he got the mountain and river clock. He has treasures such as the mysterious boundary bead, which is a small world of its own, and the most precious treasure of the world, the Tree of Eternity. Now even the mountain and river clock appears in his hand. Of these many treasures, one of them is a great fortune for ordinary people, but now they are all gathered in the hands of one person. Is this fucking human? What a heaven-defying chance and good fortune is needed to catch all these treasures in one go. The corners of Tan Junhao's eyes twitched, and there was some fear in his heart. No matter how he looked at it now, Yang Kai was not an ordinary emperor senior 1 layer, not to mention his unreasonable terrifying combat power. Even such a blessing was not an ordinary person can have. Such existences are all people with great luck. They can often walk out a path that hundreds of millions of warriors can't walk, and overcome obstacles along the way. Standing at the pinnacle of martial arts. This kind of existence cannot be obliterated by some small disasters. Is it really a wise choice for me to tear myself apart with him and have such a quarrel? The hesitation is just a moment. Tan Junhao's expression became resolute and ferocious. Now I and him are at stake, either you die or I die, there is no possibility of reconciliation. As long as he can kill this boy surnamed Yang here, then all these treasures will be his own, and he will break through the shackles at that time. Being promoted to emperor is definitely not a dream. Maybe it can take away his luck. Stupid. Tan Junhao looked at Yang Kai sarcastically. If you use this mountain and river clock to deal with this old man, I might still be afraid to use it to save these enemies who just drew their swords at you just now. Human kindness. The name of the mountain and river clock is too great. After all, it is a prehistoric treasure, and it is also the natal treasure of Emperor Yuanding. If Yang Kai really used the mountain and river clock to deal with Tan Junhao might be tied up. After all, he doesn't know what this thing is. What a power! But now that Shan Hezhong is guarding the more than 20 emperors, it is naturally impossible to use it against the enemy. This made Tan Junhao very happy. If you are willing to give up, you will get something if you give up. Yang Kai smiled and said contemptuously, you know nothing about old things. For Yang Kai, he would rather face a third-level Emperor Senior than to face so many first- and second-level Emperor Senior sieges. The former is dangerous to deal with, but there is no need to worry about it. But in the face of the latter, even if they can be killed, they still need to deal with another Tan Junhao. Now using the mountain and river clock to directly cut off Tan Junhao's wings is already a huge profit for him. Without the mountain and river bell, why do you fight with the old man? Tan Junhao roared, his breath soaring. The majestic Emperor Wei is like a turbulent river and sea, invincible. Yang Kai sneered and said, why do you need mountains and rivers to deal with you? Tan Junhao was furious. The younger generation is rampant. It is simply unforgivable that a mere Emperor Senior level dare not take him seriously. Yang Kai raised his hand. Bai Wanjian pointed at Tan Junhao, gritted his teeth and said, old dog Tan, I have no grievances with you in the past, and I have no grievances in the present. But you designed to kill thousands of people from the Chenny sect and take away my friends. I will kill you. Tan Junhao sneered, and said with disdain, if you want to kill me, it depends on whether you have the ability. When the words fell, both hands suddenly pushed forward, and a huge 5-color light blade seemed to tear the sky and the earth, leisurely formed, and slashed towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai slashed down with 1,000,000 swords, and when Emperor Yuan urged him to move, the sharp sword light greeted him head-on. With a loud bang, the aura of heaven and earth surged, and the huge sword light and 5-color light blades collapsed together, turning into fluorescent lights and dissipating between the sky and earth. At the same time, Tan Junhao had already fitted his body and rushed forward, his palms cast shadows all over the sky, covering Yang Kai. Millions of swords were full of sword intent, and Yang Kai waved his sword to meet him, his movements wide open and closed. The two of them fought together in an instant. The Emperor Yuan collided. It was extremely fierce, the figures flew up and down, and staggered back and forth. Clinking for a while, like the sound of gold and iron intersecting, Yang Kai brought the power of 1,000,000 swords to Tan Junhao with his bare hands, but he couldn't take advantage of it at all, but was suppressed by the opponent's powerful and pure Emperor Yuan, and fell into a disadvantage. Unhappy in his heart, he cursed secretly that the old thing is really not that easy to deal with, and his cultivation base has reached the level of the Emperor's 3rd level, so he really can't take it lightly, and he has some cards and unique skills to save his life. Back then, he also killed a 3rd-level emperor named Yao Chengjun in the secret realm of solitude, and the 5-color long hair of the emperor treasure that Hua Qingxi now possesses was the spoils of that battle. However, at that time, Yao Chengjun had been traumatized for many years, but he could not display the corresponding strength at the 3rd level of Emperor Senior, so he was taken advantage of by Yang Kai and died in the secret realm of solitude. But today's Tan Junhao is a genuine 3rd-level emperor. How can he be comparable to Yao Chengjun back then? His heart was awe-inspiring, but he didn't know that Tan Junhao was even more shocked. He also saw Yang Kai's many shots before, knowing that this young man could not be judged by common sense, and had the ability to fight and kill the enemy, but after he really handed it over, he realized that the young man was more difficult than he imagined. He is an elder of the Star God Palace, not to mention the General Emperor at the 1st level. Even if the 2nd level is in front of him, he can solve it with at most 10 moves. But after fighting with Yang Kai, Tan Junhao exhausted all his life's knowledge, but he could only slightly suppress him, and it was impossible to kill him. How could it be possible for Yuan to be as majestic and refined as himself in a first-level realm? How did this guy practice? Tan Junhao's mind was shocked. Every move was like a move. He wanted to force Yang Kai's bottom line, and see how long he could persist. But the facts let him down. He found that no matter how he forced himself, this young man could barely cope with it, as if he was strong when he met the strong, and his strength had no bottom line. Although he was a little embarrassed to deal with it occasionally, he did not hurt him after fighting for a long time. With a broadsword in his hand, although there is a bit of fierce sword intent, he does not have outstanding swordsmanship. He can also see that Yang Kai is not a person who practiced swordsmanship, but it is like this, and he can always resolve himself with the Emperor Treasure broadsword's attack. Looking around, Yang Kai is like a canoe driving on the stormy sea, swaying left and right. There is a possibility of subversion at any time, but he can still ride the wind and waves. Damn it, Tan Junhao cursed secretly in his heart, knowing that it would be useless to continue like this, and if he wanted to kill him, he had to use real skills. With this in mind, he clenched his fists and slammed forward. Those two fists suddenly turned into two big mountains and pressed towards Yang Kai, like a tsunami bursting out. The momentum is compelling. The old guy is really fierce. Yang Kai also muttered in his heart, holding the million sword with both hands, and slashed forward, as if what he was holding was not a sword, but a mountain-opening sword. The power of this sword is so powerful that even a mountain can be shattered in an instant. The fist shadow collapsed, and Yang Kai's chest was also shaken, and he staggered 2 steps back. The 5-color light blades in front condensed and turned into rainbow light and cut down towards Yang Kai. Are you going to do this again? Yang Kai curled his lips in disdain, and with a backhand flick of the million sword, he scattered the 5-color light blades. At the same time, Yang Kai narrowed his eyes, instinctively sensing a hint of danger approaching, and hurriedly jumped aside. With a few whistling sounds, a few streaks of golden light suddenly shot out from the scattered fluorescent light, punching out 2 small holes where Yang Kai was originally. Although the hole is small, it is hundreds of feet deep underground, and it seems that the golden light has a strong penetrating power. Looking around, I saw that behind the fluorescent light, Tan Junhao was standing in the air between the sky and the earth. A volume of ancient tome was suspended above his head, and the pages of the book were turning with clattering sounds. The tome as a whole showed the color of bronzing, and each page seemed to be cast from pure gold, which looked extremely thick at first glance. Dabao's aura slowly spread around. This strange golden tome is actually an emperor treasure. Yang Kai became vigilant, stared at the golden tome, swept out his spiritual sense, and searched carefully. The battle just now seemed extremely fierce, but it was just that he was testing Tan Junhao's strength, but why wasn't the other party testing him? Now it's almost the same, whether it's me or Tan Junhao, it's almost time for the real thing. Tan Junhao suddenly sacrificed such a treasure at such a time. It was obvious that he was going to make a bigger move. A little carelessness is the end of defeat and death. How can Yang Kai be careless? It was the first time he had seen such an emperor treasure, and he didn't know what kind of power it possessed. But looking at the world, there is a consensus among hundreds of millions of warriors: the more peculiar the secret treasure, the more powerful it can be. This golden tome is undoubtedly this type of emperor treasure. The golden lights just now were undoubtedly inspired by this golden tome. It's a pity that Tan Junhao used a bit of blindness, so he couldn't see clearly. If the old man can use the golden armored book to deal with you, you deserve to die. Tan Junhao sneered, with great confidence in his words, as if the golden armored book was something extremely extraordinary. To be continued. Chapter 2702 Treacherous Thief. This is your reliance. Although Yang Kai was vigilant in his heart, he didn't care about it on the surface. He really wanted to find out what kind of power this so-called golden armor book had, so he charged at Tan Junhao with his sword. After passing by, a million swords flickered in midair, and countless sword glows covered Tan Junhao like locusts crossing the border, and he said coldly, "A mere rubbish book is also a treasure. Old dog, you are already old. Today is the world of young people of my generation, so hurry up and die." Trash book. Tan Junhao frowned. His face was full of anger, as if he had been severely humiliated by Yang Kai. He gritted his teeth and said, "I will show you the power of this trash book." While speaking, he waved his hand violently. The golden armored book floating above his head suddenly flipped and froze on a certain page. Yang Kai saw it clearly. There was an oval-shaped pattern engraved on that page, crooked, like a child's graffiti, out of shape. But when the golden armor heavenly book was fixed on this page, the heavenly book suddenly burst into golden light, forming an oval light curtain that enveloped Tan Junhao. Boom! The power of a million swords hit the golden light curtain, but it couldn't shake it at all. Yang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked shocked. Although the power of his sword is mostly probing, but not everyone can take it. Tan Junhao didn't urge Emperor Yuan to guard his body at all, but he just relied on the golden armored book to defend perfectly. It can be seen that the golden armored book the power is really good. Defense Emperor Treasure. Yang Kai's heart moved, but he soon felt that something was wrong, because at the very beginning, there were a few golden lights, which were not something that could be done to defend against the Emperor Treasure. Tan Junhao stood on the spot with a smile. He didn't even frown even when Zhenwu came to him just now. That expression showed his absolute confidence in his golden armor. He believed that Yang Kai would never hurt him. That's the truth. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't itch. Tan Junhao smiled sarcastically. Is this all you can do? If so, then just accept death obediently. After saying that, he stretched out his hand to point towards Yang Kai, and the golden armored heavenly book suspended above his head flipped again, freezing on another page. Yang Kai looked around and saw that there were many patterns of raptors engraved on that page. Just like children's graffiti, it was not perfect, but it added a sense of ferocity. Yang Kai suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. There was a sound of thumping, and golden lights shot out from the golden armored book, twisting and transforming in midair, turning into various birds of prey, all of which came to kill Yang Kai. There are hundreds of birds of prey at least. They are of different shapes, big and small. The big ones are 20 or 30 feet long, while the small ones are like sparrows. Each of them exudes a powerful aura comparable to that of the first layer of Emperor Zun, especially one of the huge raptors has the strength of the second layer of Emperor Zun. Both offensive and defensive, Yang Kai exclaimed in amazement, who didn't know that the so-called golden armor heavenly book is not a pure defensive emperor treasure, but a compound emperor treasure that can both attack and defend. This kind of emperor treasure is extremely rare, and it is also very difficult to refine it. Even treasures of ordinary grades are priceless, let alone Tan Junhao's golden armor heavenly book, which is of high grade at first glance. Junior, how do you fight this old man? Tan Junhao stood with his hands behind his back, laughing loudly. Do you think that if you use the mountain and river bells to suppress those rubbish old men, you will have no helpers? With this golden armor and heavenly scriptures, this old man will die without doing it yourself. A place of burial. While he was speaking, those raptors and beasts were already flying towards Yang Kai in all directions. All of them were extremely ferocious, or spouted mysterious light from their mouths, or flashed their wings, and the fireball and wind blade suddenly struck, or flew directly. Leaping over, the claws struck. Yang Kai was in a hurry to deal with it, and in the blink of an eye, he was in danger of being beaten by these raptors and beasts. Tan Junhao was still laughing wildly. Hearing it in Yang Kai's ears, he felt more and more hateful, wishing to rush forward and tear his mouth open. It took a while for Yang Kai to regain his footing, but the situation remained the same. All directions were those raptors summoned from the heavenly book, staring at him. Break it! Yang Kai slammed a punch in one direction, and the moon blade shot out from the front of the fist, and several strange beasts couldn't avoid it, and were directly chopped off. Yang Kai merged his human sword into one and rushed towards the gap. There are too many raptors and beasts. If he is really besieged, even if he is powerful, he will not be able to use it well, so he can only avoid his edge first. Fortunately, although these things can display the strength of the Emperor Senior Realm, it seems that they are not as powerful as the Emperor Senior Realm. With such a powerful defense, he could kill several of them with one punch, so it shouldn't take much to kill them all. Naive. Tan Junhao saw that Yang Kai wanted to break through, but he didn't stop him. He just stood there, looking like an old god. Not good. Yang Kai suddenly felt something was wrong. The strange beasts that seemed to be killed by him did not dissipate immediately, but returned to their original state after a twist of distortion. This thing can't kill you. Yang Kai cursed inwardly, feeling the ferocious aura coming towards him from all directions. It was too late to avoid it. A raptor in front of him even jumped down in the air. The claws that shone with golden light were very sharp at first glance. I'm afraid it was even the 100 alchemy King Kong can break open with one claw. In a critical moment, Yang Kai could only activate the indestructible invisible sword chi again. The 5-colored brilliance lingered around his body, and at the same time brought the dragon transformation secret technique to the extreme. With his hands flying, countless moon blades shot westward in all directions. Chi 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 chi. One after another moon blades pierced through the air, and the raptors and beasts were cut in half, twisting and changing in midair. Stab! The sound came, and the immortal intangible sword chi collapsed in an instant. Yang Kai's chest and back were also hit by several attacks, especially the chest, which was torn apart by the sharp claws of a raptor. A deep wound with bone visible, bleeding continuously. This is still a body after dragon transformation. If it wasn't for the dragon scales to resist one or two, it would probably be dissembled just by this one blow. It's useless, no matter how many times you kill them, they won't die. Tan Junhao sneered, standing aside and making sarcastic remarks. Compared with those Emperor Senior realms who were tricked into the auction by him, this golden armored book is his greatest reliance. As long as the book is still in his hands, those summoned things will never perish, no matter what it reappears, no matter how many times it is killed. How could Yang Kai not know this? Although I don't understand the mysteries of the golden armored heavenly book, I can somewhat guess some clues. Taking advantage of the slain raptors and beasts not recovering, Yang Kai's figure flickered, and the space law rose up and down, and he was about to teleport away from the original place. Haha, boy, are you out of your wits? Tan Junhao laughed out loud. He had arranged so many methods here to target Yang Kai's spatial supernatural power. Facts have proved that it is indeed effective. If it is not for those methods, with Yang Kai's attainments in space power, I am afraid that I really have nothing to do with him. But right now, he still wants to repeat the old trick, wanting to teleport the secretary. It's really stupid. While speaking, Tan Junhao flipped his palms, and a formation flag suddenly appeared in his hand. This is the formation flag that controls the Defengyuan 5 elements formation. It is by relying on this formation flag that he was able to perfectly crack Yang Kai's space secretary before. Since Yang Kai is poor, he naturally doesn't mind doing it again. The feeling of being shaken out of the void will definitely not be pleasant. When he gives another order, all the raptors and beasts will rush forward, and Yang Kai will undoubtedly die. The Emperor Yuan surged and poured into the formation flag. Tan Junhao waved his hand and pointed to Yang Kai's direction. The next moment, Yang Kai's figure turned from virtual to real and reappeared. Tan Junhao said ferociously, "Surrender to death." The voice just fell, and Yang Kai suddenly disappeared from where he was. Tan Junhao's laughter stopped abruptly, a figure flashed in front of him, and Yang Kai had already appeared in front of him, almost face to face with him, with a sarcastic smile in his eyes. "Old dog, your timing is not right." "You." Tan Junhao was shocked, but he understood what happened as soon as he thought about it. Yang Kai's teleportation just now was obviously a cover. In fact, he didn't really use it at all, and the body shape changed from virtual to real, but he showed up on his own initiative, not by himself. But he mistakenly thought that he had succeeded, and he really used the teleportation secret technique when he was negligent. Damn it, Tan Junhao almost gnawed his teeth into pieces after being fooled by this kid. I didn't expect that my reliance turned out to be a flaw, and instead was used by the enemy, which is really a shame. With a sudden change in his mind, Tan Junhao was about to pull back. The real battle has just begun, and the power of the golden armored heavenly book has not yet been fully utilized. Even if Yang Kai teased him once, it is absolutely impossible to win against him. Tan Junhao has full confidence to kill Yang Kai here. Look into my eyes. At this moment, Yang Kai suddenly pressed his tongue against his palate and let out a loud shout. Tan Junhao instinctively looked into his eyes. Good boy. Yang Kai grinned grinningly, his left eye suddenly became solemn, a rich golden light filled it, and his pupil suddenly turned into a golden vertical kernel, like a sky eye, exuding endless majesty. World exterminating demon eye. No, I was fooled again, the little thief is treacherous. Tan Junhao was horrified, and he scolded Yang Kai bloody deep in his heart. Instinctively, he wanted to look away, but found that he couldn't do it. There was a strange force emanating from the golden vertical kernel, which shocked people's minds, and there was a mysterious power that took the mind away. Pupil surgery. Tan Junhao bit the tip of his tongue, desperately urging his soul power, and the soul-absorbing power instantly loosened. But the battle between masters is just a momentary victory or defeat. Before Tan Junhao looked away, Yang Kai had already made a move. Slay the soul, a sky-shattering strike. A golden light shot out from the left eye, slashed towards Tan Junhao, and disappeared in a flash. With a muffled snort, Yang Kai's face turned pale, and sweat poured down his forehead. On the other hand, Tan Junhao yelled, extremely sternly, blood gushed out of his eyes, and his face contorted instantly. To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update group at Wei Zhao Sheng Sheng. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is the author's greatest motivation. Chapter 2703. You are crazy. The soul-slashing knife is an emperor's treasure. It is designed to injure the soul and is extremely powerful. The heaven-breaking strike is a secret technique that Yang Kai learned from Tian Yan in the world of the Immortal Travel Mirror. The Divine Travel Mirror is the treasure of Qingyang Temple, and it is a world of its own. The creatures in it have no physical body, all of them are the nature of the spirit and spirit is alive. Tian Yan is the most powerful person in the world of Shenyujing, and the strength of his soul and spirit body has even reached the level of a great emperor. He has studied the mystic art of the soul all his life, and the sky-shattering blow came from him. How could the power be so bad? Supplemented with the emperor treasure such as the soul-slashing knife, the power displayed is not as simple as 1 + 1. And just in case, Yang Kai tried his best to mobilize the power of his soul, and he couldn't bear it. Now his face is pale, his whole body is cold, and his headache is about to split. Tan Junhao, who was hit head-on by this blow, was even more tragic. The violent soul-slaying power tore through his sea of consciousness defense in an instant, rushed into the sea of consciousness and acted recklessly, turning the sea of consciousness upside down. The sea was surging, and his consciousness was chaotic. Tan Junhao let out a scream, and his whole body was already drenched with sweat, as if he had been fished out of a lake. The sea of consciousness was severely wounded in an instant. Except for a few extinct panacea in the world, I am afraid that this kind of injury cannot be repaired at all, and even the emperor himself is powerless. Birth Lotus. Yang Kai shouted again, ready to take advantage of his illness and kill him, so he cheered up. The secret technique of lotus birth was ready to be released. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the golden armored book above Tan Junhao's head flipped over again, and suddenly froze on a certain page. In an instant, 2 streaks of golden light shot out from the pages of the book. At such a close distance, Yang Kai had no way to guard against it, and was directly penetrated by these 2 golden lights. PFF'd. Yang Kai spat out a mouthful of golden blood on his back, and the whole person flew upside down under a huge force, rolled directly on the ground, and didn't get up for a long time. Severe pain came from the lower abdomen. Yang Kai looked up, his face was as black as the bottom of a pot, and he cursed, "Old dog, I can't live with you." There were 2 finger-thick holes in the lower abdomen, which pierced through his body directly. The 2 golden lights did not know what kind of attack it was, and he couldn't even guard against it with his own dragon transformation secret technique. Motivated Emperor Yuan to rush to the wound to stop the flow of blood. At this moment, the hundreds of raptors and beasts attacked again. Yang Kai was shocked and could only use the teleportation secret technique to avoid it. Without Tan Junhao's restraint, it would be more difficult for these raptors and beasts to injure him, and he could get rid of it with just a teleportation. Ah! A scream came out. Tan Junhao raised his head to the sky and screamed wildly. His clothes were windless, and even his hair danced wildly, looking extremely ferocious. Hey hey! Yang Kai hid aside with his hands on his abdomen. Seeing his appearance, he felt a lot more balanced. Although I was seriously injured by him in a moment of carelessness, Tan Junhao's injury will only get worse. Even if I can't kill him today, he probably won't live long. He took out the panacea for healing and recovery from the space ring, and stuffed a handful of jelly beans into his mouth. The trapped beast is still fighting, let alone a 3rd-level Emperor Senior like Tan Junhao. I am afraid that if he really wants to fight him, it is always right to take some pills to make a base. Clatter. The pages above Tan Junhao's head turned again. Yang Kai was startled. He didn't know what the old thing was going to do. He gathered all his strength secretly, ready to dodge at any time. The pages of the book freeze. Golden light shoots out, twists and transforms in midair, transforms into a golden long sword, strikes through the air, and directly cracks the space. Several birds and beasts that could not be avoided were cut into nothingness. Huh! Yang Kai waited and watched in amazement. Clatter. The pages of the book were turned again, but this time, a large seal flew out from the pages, and hit the ground directly, creating a big hole in the ground. Clatter. The pages of the book are constantly turning, and every time the freeze frame will shoot out different attacks from those pages, or secret treasures of different shapes, or one after another seemingly powerful secret techniques, or summon some vivid monsters. Yang Kai even saw a monster beast comparable to Emperor Senior 3rd layer. This monster has countless eyes, the whole body is like a meatball, and he doesn't know what the hell it is. However, the mysterious light emanating from the eyes on the spherical body seems to have a strange effect of petrifying people. As soon as this meatball monster appeared, The eyes on its body kept opening and closing, and every time it opened and closed, a beam of mysterious light would shoot out, as many as hundreds and as few as dozens. The hundreds of raptors and beasts that were first summoned by Tan Zhenwu were all dealt with by it, and each one of them froze in place as if they had been cast with a hold technique. On the contrary, these raptors and beasts seemed to be extremely afraid of this meatball, they just took the beating and didn't fight back. The scene was extremely chaotic, all kinds of attacks smashed aimlessly, and Yang Kai jumped around, hiding in a panic. Especially in the face of the attack of the meatball, the body's reaction speed and flexibility were greatly reduced by accident, and it was only by urging Yuewen desperately that it was resolved. I was shocked in my heart. If Tan Zhenwu took the opportunity to attack him just now, I'm afraid he would not be able to dodge it even if he had space magic power. Ah! Tan Zhenwu kept screaming, holding his head in his hands, jumping into the air for a while, falling to the ground for a while, rolling all over the ground. How can he still have the demeanor of a strong third-level emperor and an elder of the Star God Palace? This is crazy. Yang Kai wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, his face darkened. He also didn't expect that the progress of the matter would be so dramatic that he was a little caught off guard. But after thinking about it, I used the soul-slaying knife as the basis to cast a sky-shattering blow, and most people would die right away. After all, if the sea of consciousness is broken, the soul must be destroyed. How can there be any chance of survival? Tan Zhenwu's ability to save his life under such an attack was already extremely remarkable, but no matter what, he couldn't be safe and sound even if the sea of consciousness was severely injured. At the moment, the mind is confused, delirious, obviously crazy. Yang Kai was very fortunate. Previously, Tan Zhenwu only used the 3 supernatural powers of the Golden Armored Book, and Yang Kai was a little overwhelmed. Now, it seems that this Golden Armored Book has infinite uses. If Tan Zhenwu is really asked to use many of the magical powers in it, the other not to mention, just by summoning that meatball, I'm afraid it will be a disaster. Right now, Tan Zhenwu's spiritual consciousness is in confusion, and many magical powers of the Golden Armored Book of Heaven have been used indiscriminately by him, which truly shows its horror. Where did this emperor treasure come from? This is definitely not something that the current refiners can refine. Just when Yang Kaixin turned around, the Golden Armored Book that had been floating above Tan Zhenwu's head suddenly burst into golden light, and then, those strange beings that were summoned turned into golden lights and rushed towards the Golden Armored Book, blinking, disappeared. After all the existences returned, the Golden Armored Book of Heaven suddenly closed and fell from Tan Zhenwu's head. Yang Kai stared, like a thief, his eyes fixed on the Golden Armored Book, and with a teleportation, he came to the book and reached out to pick it up. Seeing the many supernatural powers and powers of the Golden Armored Heavenly Book, how could Yang Kai not be indifferent? With such an emperor treasure in his hand, it would be of great advantage to fight with others in the future. Sting la la. There was a strange sound, but it was the moment when Yang Kai grabbed the Golden Armored Book. The book was actually shimmering with golden light, and the violent vibration and repulsion resisted Yang Kai's big hand. Not only that, but under the cover of the golden light, it made his big hand hurt unbearably, as if it had been pricked by thousands of needles. The other hand suddenly grabbed the Golden Armored Book from the other side and held on tightly. Yang Kai raised his eyes and saw Tan Zhenwu staring at him with red eyes, with blood at the corners of his eyes, looking extremely hideous. "Let go, this is mine," Tan Zhenwu yelled at Yang Kai. Yang Kai said, "You are crazy, I will keep this thing for you first." "I'm not crazy." Tan Zhenwu shook his head with a serious expression. "You are crazy." Yang Kai looked at him with deep eyes, and there was a demagogic force in his words. "You are really crazy." "Am I crazy?" Tan Zhenwu stared at Yang Kai in a daze. Yang Kai nodded gently. If he wasn't crazy, how could he snatch the Golden Armored Heavenly Book from himself like this? This book is his emperor treasure, which can be recalled with just one thought. "I'm crazy." Tan Zhenwu straightened up suddenly, lost in thought, and involuntarily let go of the hand holding the Golden Armored Book. He didn't seem to have thought that being crazy had anything to do with fighting for the Heavenly Book. Yang Kai took the opportunity to snatch the Heavenly Book and forcefully stuffed it into the mysterious boundary bead. There is Tan Zhenwu's imprint on the Heavenly Book, which can only be erased later. Unexpectedly, Yang Kai's action caught Tan Zhenwu's attention in an instant. He woke up from his contemplation, stared at Yang Kai viciously, and gritted his teeth. "Give it back to me." Yang Kai spread his hands and said, "No more." Tan Zhenwu was furious, his Emperor Yuan broke out fiercely, and rushed towards Yang Kai. Caught off guard, Yang Kai was hit directly by him, his already injured abdomen hurt even more, and his body bent into a shrimp shape. "Give it back to me!" Tan Junhao yelled, his fists were like the wind, turning into thousands of fist shadows, bombarding Yang Kai's chest. PFF'd. Yang spewed blood, which covered Tan Junhao's face, and at the same time kicked him hard with both feet, and finally opened the distance. His hands quickly formed seals, and Yang Kai's face was solemn, and he whispered in his mouth, "The years are dry and prosperous, and the shuttle is like a dream." Printed, gently patted forward. Tan Junhao had no intention of dodging at all, his scarlet eyes stared at Yang Kai, he kept chasing him, repeating the same sentence in his mouth. The print of years like a shuttle hit Tan Junhao directly, sending him flying away in shock. The power of eroding the years passed on him, and in midair, Tan Junhao, who was already old, suddenly became older, with gray hair, falling off, and wrinkled skin all over his body. After landing, it seemed like an old man who was dying. To be continued. Chapter 2704 Exhausted. Phone reading. He had an obsession in his heart, and immediately rushed towards Yang Kai again, shouting loudly, "Give it back to me!" Yang Kai looked at him coldly, took a deep breath to calm the blood rolling in his chest, and only when he rushed to the front did he suddenly punch out. Cent pound. Half of Tan Junhao's body was shattered, and he flew out again. But this time, he couldn't get up again. The sky-shattering blow of the Zhenwu dealt him enormous damage, and under his confusion of consciousness, he unconsciously and frantically activated the Golden Armored Book of Heaven to release its power. Treasures like the Golden Armored Book of Heaven are powerful, but the power required to activate them each time will not be small, and there is a proportional relationship between the two. Tan Junhao almost summoned all the supernatural powers in the Golden Armor Book of Heaven, and the power required can be imagined. Even if he is a third-layer Emperor Senior, the Emperor Yuan in his body is almost dry. His consciousness was wounded, Emperor Yuan dried up, 9 out of 10 of his strength, and he was hit by Yang Kai's years like a shuttle. Tan Junhao was nothing more than a cornered beast, let alone Yang Kai at this time, even if he was an ordinary Emperor Senior level 1, and can easily take Tan Junhao down. "Give it back to me." Half of his body was shattered, and all his internal organs were exposed. Lying on the ground, Tan Junhao still shouted obsessively, but the voice was extremely weak. "Return your uncle," Yang Kai muttered softly, his figure was also crumbling. Today's battle is extremely dangerous, and the injuries on his body are also very serious, especially the huge gap in the chest, where bones can be seen deep, and the flesh and blood are rolled up, which looks shocking, and there are 2 blood holes in the lower abdomen. The injury on the chest was caught by the huge bird of prey whose strength was comparable to that of Emperor Zun's second-order realm. These things summoned from the Golden Armored Heavenly Book did not have very good defense, but their attack power was ridiculously strong. Yang Kai's dragon body I couldn't even guard against it. And the bloody hole in the lower abdomen was pierced by 2 golden lights from the Golden Armored Book, hurting the inner palace. There were countless other large and small injuries, and several ribs were broken. How tragic can be described. However, Yang Kai's expression is extremely excited, because this is the first time he has defeated a full-blown Emperor Senior 3-layer in a frontal fight. With the experience of this battle, he will not be able to face other Emperor Senior 3-layer in the future will be in a hurry. The growth of any warrior is inseparable from life and death combat, the more experience in combat, the farther you can go on the road of martial arts. Also, there was another very slight cry from the other side, but only one word was uttered and there was no more words. The last breath of life in Tan Junhao's body disappeared in an instant. Finally dead, Yang Kai only felt that his whole body was about to fall apart. The injuries on his body and the strength he had consumed made him exhausted. At this moment, seeing the death of the enemy, his tense nerves finally relaxed, and he was exhausted like never before. The child swept up, wishing he could sleep in a dark place now. A cold light suddenly appeared. A ray of murderous intent suddenly struck from behind. Die! Wu Ming slashed down with the knife excitedly, almost pouring out his second-tier Emperor Senior cultivation without reservation. He was knocked unconscious by Yang Kai before, but he escaped the most dangerous moment. He was awakened by an attack in the coma, and it was Tan Junhao who accidentally injured him when he unconsciously activated the power of the Golden Armored Heavenly Book. He was also smart. Even if he woke up at that time, he didn't get up immediately but secretly observed the battle situation. At a glance, I was shocked in my heart, my master actually went crazy. Yang Kai is alive and kicking. I can't help but feel a little apprehensive in my heart, I don't know if the Mad Master is still Yang Kai's opponent. If he is not an opponent, then he is also in danger. Facts have proved that the Master is really not the opponent. He was exhausted after a while, and half of his body was shattered by Yang Kai's punch. He lingered for a while and then died. The cultivation base of the Third Order realm of my master, Emperor Zun, couldn't beat a Yang Kai, but was killed by him instead. Wu Ming's heart sank to the bottom of the valley all of a sudden, only feeling that there was no light in the world anymore. But at this moment, he keenly noticed that Yang Kai's figure was shaking, and he immediately understood that even if Yang Kai won, it would definitely be a miserable victory. The price to pay is probably not small. This time is undoubtedly the best time to launch a sneak attack. As long as he kills Yang Kai, not only can he avenge his master, but he can also get many treasures. He has long admired the golden armored book of his master. It is definitely not a dream to be ranked among the elders after a fight. Otherwise, when Yang Kai calmed down, the first one would not let him go. He made a decisive decision and rushed out when Yang Kai was weakest, trying to complete his merits in one battle. Yang Kai didn't seem to be able to react, and slashed his shoulder with a knife, reaching a depth of 5 inches. Wu Ming was overjoyed, and was about to forcefully remove Yang Kai's shoulders, but he saw Yang Kai suddenly turned around, grinning at him, and said, "You can't help but jump out at last." Wu Ming was startled, and said in amazement, "You knew?" Yang Kai spat out a mouthful of blood, grinning grinningly, "Guess." Wu Ming was furious. "At the end of the crossbow, if you dare to play tricks, I will hack you." When the words fell, Emperor Yuan was mobilized ferociously, and the long knife clanged, carrying the power of breaking the sun and the moon, trying to break Yang Kai into two. "If you stay there obediently, I may have nothing to do with you. Since you jumped out, then die." Yang Kai shouted, grabbing the back of the long knife with his backhand, and the strength of his body surged. It was so hard that the long knife could no longer penetrate an inch. Wu Ming's face was horrified. He never thought that this young man, who was clearly at the end of his strength, could still display such strength. A fist swung towards him. After witnessing his master being smashed into half of his body by a punch, how could Wu Ming not know the power of this fist? He hesitated in his heart between abandoning the knife or adding more force, and the fist had already hit him in the face. A strong force hit his face. Wu Ming felt dizzy for a moment, his nose collapsed, and he shouted in his heart, it was over, he was dead. But after being dazed for a moment, he realized that the scene of the broken head in his imagination didn't appear, and he didn't die. He immediately understood that Yang Kai was really at the end of his battle, otherwise, how could the power of this punch be so small? Angry and joyful in my heart, just as I was about to pounce on it again, a soft chirp came out. The next moment, Wu Ming felt light all over, as if something important was missing. Looking down instinctively, I saw a crescent-shaped hole in my chest at some point. The hole covered more than half of my chest cavity. Through the hole, I could see the viscera wriggling inside, and half of my heart. Wu Ming's eyeballs slowly rounded, desperately encouraging Di Yuan to seal the wound, but unexpectedly Yang Kai raised his hand again, flicking his fingers repeatedly. Several moon blades slashed towards him. Puff puff. Several moon blades passed through Wu Ming's body without exception, and one cut off his neck to separate his corpse. His head rolled aside, his eyes were still wide open, and he looked like he was dying. The headless corpse but standing in place. "I planned to torture you, but now it's cheap for you, thank you for Dade's death." Yang Kai looked at Wu Ming's head and snorted coldly, his face was extremely pale. Immediately, he reached out and grabbed the long knife inlaid on his shoulder, and pulled it out forcefully. PFF'd. A streak of golden blood shot out, splashing all over Yang Kai's face. Tisk tisk. Yang Kai turned his head and looked at his shoulder with a look of surprise. "It's like a fountain." Before he finished speaking, his calf softened and he fell directly to the ground. He was really exhausted. He took a few deep breaths, pulled himself together, urged Di Yuan to seal the wound, and then took out a handful of healing elixir and stuffed it into his mouth. Only then did he feel he had regained his life. Lying on the ground and not wanting to move, he tilted his head to look. Yang Kai tried his best to open his palm, stretched out his hand, and inhaled the array flag that fell on the ground into his palm. Tan Junhao had used this formation flag against himself before, and if he guessed correctly, it should be the control formation flag of the 5-element formation in a large circle. With this flag, the blockade of the 5-element formation of Defengyuan can be undone, and the eagle can fly over to find him. Tan Junhao was dead, and Yang Kai easily erased the imprint of spirit on the formation flag, and slowly researched it for a while. Yang Kai understood the function of the formation flag. With a wave of his hand, the darkness covering the world suddenly dissipated, revealing the true face of the world again. This place should be a square, and it seems to be behind the branch of the Qiao Chamber of Commerce, covering a vast area. Yang Kai lay there motionless, waiting quietly. After a short while, he heard a burst of piercing sound coming and falling beside him. Yang Kai twitched the corner of his mouth and said weakly, "Demon King." As soon as the words came out of my mouth, I felt something was wrong, because there was a somewhat familiar aroma lingering at the tip of my nose. Yang Kai frowned, and turned his head to look, only to see a pair of delicate feet appearing in the field of vision 3 feet away from him, moving his gaze upwards, wearing a light green long skirt with a graceful waist, tied with a silk sash. Looking, the waist is only enough to be grasped, the twin peaks are tall and full, like 2 jade peaks, the neck is slender and fair, the face is delicate and beautiful, the hair is black, like a waterfall, and the eyebrows are picturesque. "Why are you?" Yang Kai widened his eyes. He didn't expect that after unblocking the Defengyuan 5 elements formation, the first person who came to him was not Yingfei, but the dragon girl named Zhu Qing. Didn't she go? Yang Kai hadn't seen her for almost a month since seeing her at the inn last time. I thought she couldn't stand her unreasonable troubles, and she wouldn't take care of herself anymore. Could it be that this witch is here to take advantage of the fire? Yang Kai was startled. Last time in the wilderness, he had severely molested her, although at that time he was a little confused and involuntary, but he did do something bad. This demon girl is not a magnanimous person at first glance, maybe she has been looking for opportunities to take revenge. It's all right now, I don't have the strength to restrain a chicken, and being blocked here by her, I'm afraid I can't be kind no matter what. To be continued. Chapter 2705 Hurt You? Demon King. Yang Kai yelled weakly, hammering the ground with his hands, making a thumping sound. The situation is not good. If it was in its heyday, he would not be afraid of Zhu Qing, a witch, but right now she has just fought a big battle, and she is extremely weak. It doesn't feel safe to be alone with her. It would be safer to quickly call Yingfei over to escort him. What are you shouting for? He won't be able to find this place in a while. Seeing Yang Kai's half-dead look, Zhu Qing was very happy, and squatted in front of his head with a smile on her lips. Her legs were bent to press the corner of her skirt to avoid the spring leaked. Resting his hands on his cheeks, he looked at him with interest. Yang Kai stared at her as if facing an enemy, and said vigilantly, "Then why did you find me so quickly?" "Dragon Chi, I'm a dragon clan, so I can sense your dragon Chi, so I can find you." Zhu Qing stretched out her hand and poked the dragon scale on Yang Kai's chest. Hiss. Yang Kai sucked in a breath of cold air, his face was distorted, there was a deep wound where the bones could be seen. Zhu Qing's poke was neither light nor heavy, almost made him jump up in pain. "Oh, I'm sorry, did I hurt you?" Zhu Qing stretched out her hand to cover her red lips, and looked at Yang Kai with a face of shame, like a child who did something wrong, but the slyness in the corner of her eyes showed that she was clearly asking questions knowingly. "Small injuries, what's the point?" Yang Kai coldly snorted proudly, "I didn't even say it hurts, I can't weaken my aura if I'm weak." "Really?" Zhu Qing sneered maliciously, twisted a jade finger, and pointed towards the wound on Yang Kai's shoulder. "What are you doing?" Yang Kai was furious, thinking that if it wasn't for this young master's lack of strength now, I would guarantee that your butt would bloom. Zhu Qing smiled and said nothing, just poked her finger at the wound, poked. She also asked with feigned concern, "Does it hurt?" "Such a big wound, it hurts, right?" Yang Kai's complexion suddenly became brilliant, but he gritted his teeth and said nothing, secretly feeling ruthless in his heart. If he is not killed by her today, he will pay back 100 times in the future. "Does it hurt?" Zhu Qing asked again, with a concerned look on her face. Her hand became more serious, and a finger got into the wound, stirring it back and forth. A teardrop slipped from the corner of Yang Kai's eyes, and he couldn't help but feel a kind of tragic scene of a dragon swimming in shallow water being played by shrimps, and a tiger falling in Pyongyang being bullied by dogs. Huo Di turned his head, Yang Kai stared at Zhu Qing's legs, and said seriously, "Little girl, your panties are showing." Zhu Qing was stunned and quickly looked down. At this moment, Yang Kai suddenly urged the original power of Jin Shenglong, and the golden light was released, covering him and Zhu Qing together. Zhu Qing involuntarily let out a muffled snort, as if she had received some terrible shock. Her little face changed color slightly. Yang Kai stretched out his hand, grabbed her neck, and dragged her down. Zhu Qing was directly dragged to kneel in front of Yang Kai, unable to resist at all. With a bang, their heads collided violently. Yang Kai only felt dizzy for a while, and almost passed out, but he still accurately caught the other's red lips, bit it, and then used the trick of swimming dragon to come out of the hole, knocking open the white teeth, wantonly tasting the sweet taste. Zhu Qing snorted, her eyes widening instantly. Although it was not the first time, she still couldn't bear such close contact. There seemed to be an invincible spear in her mouth. Swiping left and right, it emitted a magical power, bombarding her heart, and immediately gave birth to a kind of feeling in her body. The strange feeling of tingling and numbness, the power that is comparable to the powerhouse of the Emperor's third-layer realm can't be gathered at all, and gradually, the whole body feels like it's on fire, extremely hot. On this square full of corpses donating blood and internal organs, the two of them seemed to be frozen, and time seemed to stop flowing. The golden light gradually dissipated, and the original power of Jin Shenglong also gradually converged. Without the suppression of Jin Shenglong's original power, Zhu Qing suddenly raised her head and got rid of Yang Kai's reckless behavior. Her beautiful eyes were bursting with anger, as if a volcano was about to erupt, her breasts rose and fell violently, and she gritted her teeth. You presumptuous. A mere human being molested her repeatedly, which made her lungs explode. Hey. Yang Kai was lying on the ground without any image, showing a big character shape, looking extremely embarrassed, but he couldn't stop laughing, and said like a hob, "You do it, under the peony flower even being a ghost is romantic, kill me, and you will be a widow too." It was as if Zhu Qing was already his woman. Zhu Qing's face turned cold, she almost wanted to scrape off a layer of frost. She bit her teeth lightly, raised a powder fist, pointed it at Yang Kai's face, and punched hard. "You, Grandpa," Yang Kai cursed, his eyes darkened, and he passed out completely. Drowsy, with a splitting headache, weak and weak, as if he returned to the time when he was very weak overnight, and he hasn't felt this way for a long time. Consciousness fluctuated, and some familiar voices came from my ears. Familiar faces appeared in the hazy field of vision. I wanted to see them clearly, but I couldn't see them clearly. Flowers in water. At a certain moment, Yang Kai suddenly opened his eyes, and his chaotic consciousness suddenly became clear. "Young Master Yang Kai, Metropolitan." A cry sounded in his ears. Yang Kai looked around, and saw Ying Fei as the leader, Yi Hen, Yi Jinghen, Kai Yu and others gathered around, their eyes full of concern. Seeing that he finally woke up, there was a relieved expression on his face. "Not dead," Yang Kai muttered softly. Ying Fei said, "Young Master Yang, you had a great battle. You consumed too much, and you suffered serious injuries. Later, you fell into a coma. Fortunately, Miss Zhu Qing was the first to find you and has been by your side, otherwise if you taking advantage of traitors the consequences are unimaginable." After thinking about it, I was terrified. Yang Kai fell into a deep coma at that time. If someone who harbored ill intentions found him, his life would be in danger. Although the 5-element array was dispelled by Yang Kai, the octagonal array still maintained its function. Ying Fei and the others had been waiting for Gong Tai to crack the array and close the separated spaces before they could walk out of the room. "Zhu Qing." Yang Kai was stunned. Ying Fei laughed and said, "It's Miss Zhu Qing, thanks to her righteousness." While talking, his gaze shifted to the side, and he revealed a meaningful smile, probably because he felt that there was something between Yang Kai and Zhu Qing. After all, the two of them kissed each other last time in that barren mountain and wild mountain, you and me of. Yang Kai looked along and saw Zhu Qing standing there with an unnatural expression. Yang Kai grinned ferociously, thinking that if this demon girl hadn't given me that last blow, I'm afraid he wouldn't have passed out. But she didn't take the opportunity to do anything to him, which made Yang Kai a little surprised, it seems. She really didn't have any malice towards him. Could it be that he misunderstood her? "Hey, who helped me wash my body and change my clothes?" Only then did Yang Kai realize that the blood stains on his body had been washed clean, and he even changed into a clean set of clothes. Could it be Zhu Qing? Tisk, I'm a little excited just thinking about it. "It's me." Io seemed to see Yang Kai's conjecture, and said coldly, "What's your opinion?" Yang Kai's face darkened, and he hurriedly said, "My father-in-law, how dare my son-in-law have any opinions? I'm alone, and I don't protect myself well. What if Yue and the others become widows?" Io reprimanded. Yes. Yang Kai nodded incessantly, feeling guilty. Who let him ruin the innocence of his daughter? Ji Yu Kangyan said from the side. The blame is that our strength is too weak, and Sect Master Yang is also standing up for us. Io sighed. Don't be so reckless next time. The words were full of concern, and he paused. Fifth sister. Yang Kai was stunned for a moment, then he came to his senses and hurriedly said, she is fine, I will let her come out. He waved his hand to open mysterious Xiaoji and let Qiyu out. Zhu Qing was stunned by this move. When everyone met each other, they naturally asked again, knowing that Yang Kai was seriously injured, Caillou also blamed herself. Everyone, let young Master Yang rest for a while. Seeing the noisy crowd, Ying Fei hurriedly said for fear of disturbing Yang Kai's breathing adjustment. Yes, yes, yes. Ghost Ancestor nodded and said, what's the matter, we'll talk about it after the suzerain recovers. At that moment, everyone bid farewell. Zhu Qing didn't say a word, she was caught in the crowd and followed her out. Who is that, Qinger, pay attention, I have something to ask you. Yang Kai called her to stop. Zhu Qing paused, and when she heard Yang Kai addressing herself so intimately, her eyebrows frowned slightly, she seemed a little displeased, but she still nodded slightly and stopped her pace. She also wants to find a chance to chat with Yang Kai alone. But Caillou and Io suddenly turned their heads, glanced at Yang Kai meaningfully, and turned their heads again. After a while, everyone left cleanly. Yang Kai got up from the bed, sat down cross-legged, turned his spiritual mind, and examined himself. After looking at it, Yang Kai was amazed. Because he found that his strength seemed to have improved, and he confirmed it in disbelief, and found that he had indeed improved. Although he was not at the level of the second level of Emperor Zun, he had definitely reached the peak of the first level. Much stronger than before. In the hard battles in the past few days, they first had to deal with the siege of nearly 30 Emperor-level monsters, and then they had to deal with the 100 Emperor-level monsters summoned from the golden armored heavenly book. Finally, they fought to the death with Tan Junhao and won miserably, and whether it is the power of divine consciousness or the power of Emperor Yuan, all of the power in the body is almost completely consumed, and it is beneficial to put it to death and regenerate. Although he hasn't fully recovered yet, as long as he recovers, the strength he can display will definitely be much stronger than before, and if he encounters a battle like before, he won't be half dead. It was a blessing in disguise. He checked his injuries again and found that there was nothing serious. I should have been in a coma for a few days. During these few days, the powerful recovery power of my physical body and golden blood has been exerting its effect, and the wounds on my chest and shoulders are almost healed. The strength is also fully replenished under the nourishment of Wen Shenlian. As long as he meditates and recovers for a day or two, he will be able to be fierce again. To be continued. Chapter 2706 This is mine. When Yang Kai was checking himself, Zhu Qing stood aside, looking at him curiously, without urging him. A few days ago, although she was the first to find Yang Kai, she didn't know exactly what happened, she only knew that he had encountered a fierce battle, and it wasn't until later that she realized that in that battle, his opponent was actually the Emperor. The 3-layer mirror respects, the 2-layer Emperor respects. Many of them were existences with much higher cultivation levels than him, and one of them was an elder of the Star God Palace. But the final result was that he won, and his enemy died cleanly. Zhu Qing couldn't help being moved. As a dragon clan, he claims to be the leader of all spirits, and bears the most powerful source of the Holy Spirit. His vision has always been extremely high, and he never puts other races in his eyes. Comparable. But Zhu Qing believed that even if she did it herself, she would not be able to achieve such a feat when she was at the first level of Emperor Senior. Is he really human? Zhu Qing really admires him for this point alone, but this person's character is extremely bad. The first time he molested himself, he could explain that he couldn't help himself and was attracted by his own blood, but the second time it was definitely intentional. If the elder hadn't told him to make friends with him, Zhu Qing would have chopped him up long ago. How could he be allowed to live in this world? Aren't you afraid I'll be embarrassed if you stare at me like this? Yang Kai suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Zhu Qing with a smile. Zhu Qing hurriedly looked away and turned her head away. I'm curious, why didn't you kill me? Yang Kai asked with a frown. Why should I kill you? Zhu Qing looked out the window and asked without turning her head. Yang Kai wondered. You didn't want to kill me, so why did you go and come back? I haven't seen her for nearly a month, and she suddenly appeared when I was the weakest. No wonder Yang Kai misunderstood her. At that time, he thought she was here for revenge, but he didn't know that things were a little different from what he expected. Zhu Qing turned her head, glared at Yang Kai and said, "What else can I do? Naturally I want to be friends with you." Being friends. Yang Kai was stunned, wondering why these words sound familiar. As soon as Zhu Qing threw her hand, something flew towards Yang Kai, and said, "This is what you want, and I also took a lot of effort to get it here." Yang Kai reached out to take it, and looked at her inexplicably, only to realize that the thing in his hand was a flagon. Shouldn't. Yang Kai's heart moved, he opened the jug and took a sip, and found that the wine was fragrant. Only 99 pots of sword wine are brewed in the western region Jujian Villa every year, and this pot in your hand is one of them. Yang Kai's forehead was dripping with cold sweat, he looked at her differently and said, "Have you gone to the western region?" "A month ago." I just said it casually, which was considered to be making things difficult for her, but I can't think that she really bought me a pot of sword wine. In this way, I haven't seen her in a while, not because she knows the difficulty. Retired, but went out to get sword wine for himself. A joke made her run around for a month, and Yang Kai didn't know whether to say that this girl is really stupid or really stupid. But I feel a little guilty. Then I thought it was wrong, even if she is a dragon, how can 1 month be enough for her to go here and back from the western regions? Where do you care about me? Anyway, I got you what you need. Zhu Qing gritted her teeth secretly. For this pot of sword wine, she paid a lot of price, and she stared at Yang Kai and said, "Then we are now, is it a friend?" Yang Kai looked up at her without saying a word. Zhu Qing said angrily, "You want to go back on your word?" He secretly felt ruthless in his heart. If this abominable guy dared to go back on his word, even if he was going all out to be punished by the elders, he would have to beat him up, and then knock him out and bring him back to Long Island. Looking at his current appearance, he should be able to win. Feng clenched her fists and looked around Yang Kai's body, trying to figure out where to hit him with one punch, otherwise when he activated the ancestral dragon origin, he would be suppressed again. Yang Kai stared at her for a long time, then nodded slightly and said, "Okay, then we are friends now." It's always weird to be friends with a dragon and be pushed by someone else. As he spoke, he put the pot of sword wine into the space ring. Zhu Qing was overjoyed when she heard the words, she smiled like a flower and said, "Really? Really?" Yang Kai nodded solemnly. Zhu Qing changed her face again, and said fiercely, "Then why didn't you drink this pot of wine? Did you say yes, but you didn't regard me as a friend in your heart?" Yang Kai smiled and said, "No one has ever worked so hard for me, I want to keep it as a thought, and when I see this pot of wine in the future, I will always think of you. Who knows if there is anything famous in this pot of wine?" Although he promised to be friends with Zhu Qing, but this friend from the dragon race is really inexplicable. Zhu Qing definitely has other intentions, Yang Kai naturally cannot fully trust her. But one thing is certain, this girl has no malice towards him, otherwise, during the period when he was unconscious, no matter how many lives he had, it would not be enough to die. And as he said to Zhu Qing before, the word, friend, is not as simple as just talking about it. Zhu Qing didn't expect Yang Kai to say such words, her face flushed slightly, and she felt a little heartbroken, and said coyly, "What nonsense." This shy look made Yang Kai's eyes light up, recalling this girl's sweet tongue and warm red lips, he suddenly became a little distracted. Zhu Qing's heart was also in a mess. Although Yang Kai agreed to be friends with her, it was the first step, but how to invite him to Long Island is still a problem. "I can't say it now, so that I can appear to be my own." The intention was too obvious, and he hesitated for a while. The atmosphere was a bit secretive, Yang Kai felt that his blood flow speeded up a lot, and it seemed that something would happen if he didn't suppress it. "I don't know why, every time I stay with Zhu Qing, I can't help myself. Although this girl is beautiful and has a good figure, but there are so many beautiful and good women, why is she able to make her lust high? It is unkind to chase away customers with the intention of chasing them away, but only agreeing to be friends with them on the front foot." He simply grabbed a few space rings from the bedside and checked them one by one. These space rings are all owned by the emperors he killed, there are 7 or 8 rings. Although he was in a coma before, the space rings of these people were all put away by Ying Fei, who arrived later and put them beside him. "Let's see what good things are there." Yang Kai sat cross-legged on the bed, gearing up for a while, full of interest. Zhu Qing also took a look, but didn't pay much attention. To her, although there are many things in these space rings, they are not too pleasing to the eye. Tisk tisk, there are so many source crystals. Yang Kai opened the first space ring and saw a large number of source crystals accumulated inside. There are nearly 10 million high-grade source crystals alone, 30 to 40 million middle-grade source crystals, and hundreds of millions low-grade source crystals. Various other panaceas, secret exercises, rare minerals, and secret treasures are also dazzling. After reaching the Emperor's senior realm, everyone has lived a long time, and naturally accumulated a lot of wealth during the long years. Although Yang Kai's family property is rich, but now that he has created a soaring heaven palace, it is natural to prepare for the future. On the gloomy star, at least tens of thousands of people need to migrate here, maybe more. Once that time comes, what is needed? Cultivation resources are a bottomless pit, and the more good things, the better. The source crystal will be needed by the disciples of Lingxiao Palace in the future, and the secret scriptures and secret techniques can also provide disciples with a broader path of cultivation. Those secret treasures and emperor treasures can also be rewarded depending on their merits. Yang Kai was overjoyed to transfer the contents of this space ring to his own space ring. Open another space ring and find that it is even richer. Yang Kai laughed happily and kept making Zhu Qing frown. There are 7 or 8 space rings, and each space ring contains at least tens of millions of high-grade source crystals, and there are countless other low-grade source crystals. Thinking about it, these Emperor Prestige Realm, this trip is to participate in the auction in Liang City, and they basically come here to stare at the sky puppet. How could they not bring enough source crystals? These high-grade source crystals are probably all stored by each of their sects. But I don't want Yang Kai to be cheap in the end. Wow, Yang Kai exclaimed again exaggeratedly. He found that the number of source crystals in the space ring in his hand was more. The top-grade source crystals were 50 to 60 million, which was 4 to 5 times that of other people. This space ring should be Tan Junhao's space ring, because in this ring Yang Kai found the Dragon Island token that he handed over before. He casually took out the Dragon Island token and threw it into the mysterious Shaoji. Generally, Yang Kai stored precious things in the mysterious small world, and those less important things would be placed in the space ring. Wait, Zhu Qing, who had been silent all this time, suddenly called out tenderly. What's wrong? Yang Kai looked up at her. That thing just now. Zhu Qing took a few steps forward, and said in a somewhat excited tone, can you show me that token? You mean this? Yang Kai took out the Dragon Island token with a backhand and shook it in front of Zhu Qing. Yes, that's it. Zhu Qing nodded repeatedly, her beautiful eyes glowing with a strange light. What are you going to do? Yang Kai vigilantly held Long Dao Ling to his chest, turned sideways, and said solemnly, this is mine. Zhu Qing stomped her feet and said, I know it's yours, I just wanted to see it. What does this guy mean? Putting on a posture of guarding against thieves, is it possible that I am a dragon and will rob him? Don't look at it, this is the Dragon Island token. Yang Kai shook the token in front of her eyes. The Dragon Island token is something from the Dragon Island. As a dragon clan, Zhu Qing naturally recognizes it, so Yang Kai also not hiding it. It's really the order of the Dragon Island. Zhu Qing was greatly surprised. She left Long Island this time to track down the whereabouts of the last piece of Long Island token that was left outside. When passing through Liang City, she felt the dragon energy on Yang Kai's body, so she was delayed. But he didn't want to find the Longdao order by accident. As long as he has the Dragon Island token, he can go back to Dragon Island to do business, and he can also go to the Forbidden Area to advance his bloodline and gain more powerful power. This Dragon Island order means a lot to him. How can Zhu Qing not be excited? To be continued. Chapter 2707 Exchange something with you. If it's fake, Yang Kai smiled, put away the Dragon Island token again, paused, and said, by the way, it is rumored that with the Dragon Island token, you can go to Dragon Island to ask for something that your dragon clan can satisfy. Request, true or false? Zhu Qing said, of course it is true. What kind of request is acceptable? Yang Kai's eyes lit up, and he realized the precious value of this Dragon Island token. Basically no problem, as long as we are satisfied and do not violate the principles of the Dragon Clan. Zhu Qing nodded. Yang Kai's heart twitched slightly, wondering if the Dragon Clan would agree if he went to Long Island to exchange Zhu Qing with this Dragon Island token. He probably wouldn't agree to it, or he would offend the Dragon Clan. Shaking his head, Yang Kai stopped thinking about it and rechecked Tan Junhao's other wealth. Are you going to Long Island? Zhu Qing asked softly with interest. If she can persuade Yang Kai to take the Dragon Island token to go to Dragon Island, then her mission has been completed. No matter what, The last piece of Dragon Island token was also found, and the person who bears the origin of the ancestor dragon was also invited to Dragon Island. This kind of credit is enough for him to enter the Forbidden Land to enhance the power of his bloodline. What are you doing there? Yang Kai shook his head while packing up many treasures. Zhu Qing said anxiously, don't you have any wishes to fulfill? Take this Dragon Island token, and our dragon clan will do it for you. There is really one thing. Yang Kai suddenly raised his head, as if he remembered something. What? Let's hear it, Zhu Qing said excitedly. I came from a lower plane star field called Hengluo Star Field. I want to go back. Can you Dragon Island send me back? Yang Kai looked at Zhu Qing and asked, now he can be regarded as a firm stand in this star field heel, with a piece of land of his own. The cultivation environment is many times better than that of Gloom Star, and the place is quite safe, so he naturally intends to take over his family and friends. However, he still didn't know how to return to the Hengluo Starfield. Originally, he wanted to find Yang Yan before making plans. Now that he got the Dragon Island order, he might be able to ask the Dragon Clan for help. The Dragon Clan has been passed down for so many years, and they know everything about everything in the world. They must know the way to return to the Hengluo Starfield. Go back to the lower plane Starfield. Zhu Qing frowned when she heard this. Difficult. Yang Kai looked at her expression and knew that things were not as simple as he imagined. Zhu Qing said, this matter is really difficult. You should know that since the Heaven Devourer Emperor burned many star fields tens of thousands of years ago, all the passages between star realms and those star realms have been closed. The passages in between are blocked. Yang Kai has heard of this kind of thing before. Tens of thousands of years ago, although people in the star realm wanted to pay some price to go to the lower plane star field, it was not difficult. But since the Heaven Devourer made such a fuss, all the passages leading to the lower plane starfields have been sealed, just for fear that some strong people would break into those lower plane starfields and do whatever they want. After all, the warriors in those starfields are really not that strong. The Void King realm is as high as the sky, and in some star fields, there are no warriors in the Void King realm. Anyone who has a source of Tao in the star realm can sweep all directions. The Heaven-Devouring Emperor is the best example. There are countless star fields poisoned by him back then. Wherever he passed, the origin of all the stars were swallowed up. The stars of cultivation collapsed, and hundreds of millions of warriors died because of this. Now the place where the passage is sealed is guarded by Xingding, and there are emperor-level powerhouses sitting in it all year round, and no one can force it. Star Court. Yang Kai frowned. Zhu Qing explained. The Star Court is an extremely powerful organization in the star realm, not a sect. It was created by the 10 great emperors working together to guard the place where the passage is sealed and take turns guarding it. As far as I know, it is now guarding the Star Court. Yes, it is the Jagged Emperor. He is also the best conquering emperor among the 10 great emperors. I've never heard of it. Yang Kai looked surprised, and felt greatly enlightened. Zhu Qing smiled and said, the existence of the Star Court is very mysterious, and it is impossible for ordinary people to have heard of it. Maybe your parents know it, and you will understand after you go back and ask them. Yang Kai heard the word suddenly. If it is another emperor senior realm with inheritance, he may be able to hear the news about the Star Court from his parents, but he is alone and has not been in the Star Realm for a long time. Who would tell him this? The majesty of the Star Court cannot be shaken. Not only was it created by the joint efforts of the 10 great emperors, but it is rumored that there are several unknown emperor-level powerhouses in it. Even our dragon clan can't easily provoke it. Unknown great emperor. Yang Kai was startled. Aren't there only 10 great emperors? Zhu Qing smiled and said, who told you that there are only 10? Yang Kai was dumbfounded, speechless. Yes, no one told him that there are only 10 great emperors, but he kept hearing about the 10 great emperors, and subconsciously thought that there were only 10 great emperors. The emperor's lifespan is very long. Although he dare not say that he will live the same life as the heaven and the earth, and the sun and the moon will shine together, but he will not die easily. After many years, even if it is difficult for the emperor to be promoted, there will always be some amazing talents who will be promoted. Success, becoming the great emperor, but no one knows about it. Just like the elders of my dragon clan, I am comparable to the great emperor, but I am not among the top 10 emperors. What about you? Yang Kai asked. Zhu Qing pursed her lips and smiled, and said, I'm still far away. The great emperor is a special kind of existence, very human can achieve it. Then I have to work hard. Yang Kai looked dignified. Zhu Qing glanced at him differently, and found that he was not joking, but was really high-spirited, and seemed to want to aspire to the position of the great emperor. The first reaction was that it was funny. If the great emperor can achieve it with hard work alone, then I am afraid that there are not many great emperors in this world. But thinking about it again, if it's the person in front of him, maybe, it's not impossible. With a cultivation base of Emperor Senior Level 1, with outnumbered enemies, he killed so many enemies whose cultivation bases were higher than his. This in itself is an incredible thing. How many of those great emperors were like him when they were young? Eyes and vision determine the goal and motivation of hard work. For a while, Zhu Qing was very moved. So, if you want to go to the lower plane star field, you have to pass the star court level first. Yang Kai asked humbly. It's natural, but that's not a place to run wild, so don't mess around. Yang Kai dealt with it casually, feeling a bit of a headache. He originally wanted to find an opportunity to see if he could return to the lower plane star field. After all, he possessed space supernatural powers. As long as he could determine the location of the constant Luo star field, he might not be able to break through the space barrier. But now I know that there is an existence called Xingding guarding the place where the channel is sealed, and if you want to go back, you have to cross this thick barrier. Then do you want to go to Long Island? Zhu Qing looked at Yang Kai eagerly. Yang Kai raised his head and said, is there a way for Long Island to let Xingding open the passage and send me back? Zhu Qing shook her head. There is no need to think about this matter at all, although Long Island is also considered, but Star Court is related to the existence of the entire star world, and may not sell Long Island's face. Otherwise, if the channel seal is opened once today and once tomorrow, there is no need for it to exist at all. Then why should I go? Yang Kai waved his hand. But you can make other requests. Zhu Qing looked anxious, and her thoughts changed quickly. Yes, you are only at the first level of Emperor Senior. If you go to Dragon Island, you can practice on Dragon Island. It is very beneficial for you to improve, and it will take less than 100 years to be promoted to the Emperor's 3-layer mirror. 100 years. Yang Kai couldn't help but rolled his eyes, thinking that he hadn't spent 100 years from cultivating to now, and now he is at the first level of Emperor Senior, and he has also reached the peak level, and he can break through to 2 level. If it takes 100 years to be promoted to the 3rd level mirror of the Emperor, then he might as well die. 100 years has passed very quickly. If you look at the star world, there are not many places where the cultivation environment is better than that of Dragon Island. As long as you go and deliver the Dragon Island order, I promise that the elders will arrange the best cultivation place for you. Zhu Qing persuaded earnestly. Let's talk about it. When I think about what I need to ask for help, I will go to your Dragon Island to see. Yang Kai responded casually. Then, when do you want to think? Yang Kai shook his head and said, I don't know, maybe I don't need your help, so I won't go. Zhu Qing's face darkened, she hesitated for a while, and said, then, can you give me the order of Dragon Island? For you, Yang Kai laughed, thinking that the relationship between us is not so good, right? Why is this girl a little confused? She dares to say anything. Zhu Qing said, of course it's not free, I'll give you something in exchange. To be honest, I left the island this time to track down the whereabouts of this Dragon Island token, and now I finally found it. With it, you can return to life. You, help me, okay. It was very difficult for her to beg for help alone, her cheeks were burning hot, and she felt ashamed to death. Yang Kai frowned, thought for a while, and said, for the sake of saving me last time, I can give you a chance. Zhu Qing's face was happy, and before she could speak, Yang Kai raised her hand and said, of course, it's just a chance, if you don't have what I want, then forget it. Zhu Qing nodded incessantly, took off the space ring in her hand, and threw it directly to Yang Kai, saying, I have a lot of good things, you can see for yourself what you want, and you can take whatever you fancy. Dragon Island order. So generous. Yang Kai was stunned for a moment. Space rings are usually the privacy of warriors, and they will not be exposed to others easily. Zhu Qing threw the space ring over without saying a word, which is obviously very important to this Dragon Island order. I value it, and I am ready to change it at any cost. This girl doesn't understand what it means to raise a price on the ground and pay back the money when she lands, so she easily exposed her bottom line. Yang Kai also wanted to know what good things a dragon clan has. With a sweep of his divine sense, he probed into the space ring, and was immediately dazzled by a dense light. Obediently thumping, there seemed to be a lot of good things. Yang Kai was overjoyed, and then he immersed himself in it and began to look at it seriously. To be continued. Chapter 2708 Dragon Clan has 3 advantages. Phone reading. With an excited and expectant heart, Yang Kai carefully investigated. Element of female sign. But soon there was a frown, and his expression became weird. As time went by, this weird look became more and more intense, and the veins on his forehead twitched. Finally, he couldn't stand it anymore. He looked up at Zhu Qing and said, "These are all, what is it?" "Why, there is no one you like." Zhu Qing looked at him in astonishment. "Impossible, the things in this ring were all collected by myself through untold hardships, and everything is precious to me. Why does this person despise any of them?" "I like your uncle." Yang Kai couldn't take it anymore. He took out a jade hairpin from the space ring. The jade hairpin was brilliant, colorful, and looked very good, but the key is that this thing is just a Daoyuan level low-grade secret treasure. The ability fluctuations emitted are also minimal, and it seems that only one kind of guardian secret technique with decent power has been sealed, and he growled at Zhu Qing, "This is what you call a good thing?" Yang Kai felt cheated, and his heart was hurt. Zhu Qing looked at him nervously and said, "Be gentle, don't crush it. It seems that the hosta is some kind of incredible treasure." Yang Kai vomited blood angrily. Zhu Qing hurriedly said, "I don't like this one, look at the others, there are many more." Yang Kai casually grabbed in the space ring, and grabbed more than a dozen strange things. Some were secret treasures, some were things that he couldn't even name, and there were even some strange gems. No matter which one it is shining and shining, and it looks really good in terms of appearance alone. Gathered together is even more radiant and radiant. But the key is that these things are worthless to Emperor Senior Realm like Yang Kai, and things that cannot be used to cultivate or enhance strength are naturally worthless. But Zhu Qing put them in the space ring like treasures. Yang Kai couldn't believe that this was a Dragon Clan storage. "I can't wait to poke my eyes out. Is there anything you like or want? I can exchange it with you." Zhu Qing didn't have the slightest self-knowledge. "Are you really stupid or just pretending to be stupid?" Yang Kai sneered. "What do you mean?" Zhu Qing was also a little angry, hearing the sarcasm in Yang Kai's tone. Yang Kai was stunned for a moment, and suddenly said, "I heard that the Dragon Clan has 3 major hobbies, so it seems true." "What are the 3 hobbies?" Zhu Qing asked curiously. "She has lived on Long Island since she was a child, and this trip is also the first time she has left Long Island to walk the astral world. She is really unheard of about these 3 major hobbies." Yang Kai sighed. "Sleep, flash, what? Which one?" Zhu Qing stared at him, and said relentlessly, "Speak clearly." Yang Kai glared at her angrily. "Don't ask so many children. You are a child, and your whole family is a child." Zhu Qing's nose was crooked. Yang Kai didn't bother to argue with her. He laughed and said, "Anyway, your things are all garbage in my opinion, so I don't need to change them." Then he threw the space ring back. "The most important thing is, this girl doesn't even have a source crystal in her interspatial ring, and she doesn't know what she usually uses for cultivation. Maybe Dragon Clan cultivation doesn't need source crystals. After all, Dragon Clan is also a monster clan. Yang Kai has never seen any monster clan cultivation that uses source crystals. The cultivation of monster clans has always been to directly devour the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and the essence of the sun and the moon, or swallow some inner alchemy of genius treasures and other monsters." "How is it possible?" Zhu Qing said angrily, "as if you can insult me, but not my baby. But when I think about it, I still have to ask for help from others." The imposing manner was reduced by half again, and he murmured for a while. Said, "If you don't like these, what about these 2? While speaking, she suddenly stretched out her hand and flipped it over, and a scale the size of a basket immediately appeared on her snow-white hand, and there was a jade bottle on the scale. Dragon scale. Yang Kai sensed the dragon energy emanating from the scales, and his eyes lit up immediately. He reached out and took the dragon scale and jade bottle, gently rubbing the hard scales. When he was in the Hengluo starfield in the early years, he once obtained a piece of dragon scale, and later refined it on the vital part of his chest. Now, once the dragon transformation secret technique is activated, the dragon scale can enhance the power of the dragon transformation secret technique. If you can refine another piece, the power of the dragon transformation secret technique must be greater. Rubbing, Yang Kai felt a familiar aura in this piece of dragon scale, and immediately understood that this should be Zhu Qing's own dragon scale. Perhaps it had been decomposed before, and immediately glanced at her thoughtfully. But when she found that Zhu Qing's pretty face was flushed and she looked extremely uncomfortable, she was very surprised and didn't know what was wrong with her. The fact is indeed as Yang Kai expected, this dragon scale is indeed Zhu Qing's dragon scale, but it has degenerated later. Even so, it used to be a part of her body after all, and now Yang Kai's gentle caress, from Zhu Qing's point of view, it always felt like the hand was touching her body. The scene of Yang Kai's wanton indecent taste appeared in his mind, and he would naturally feel awkward. Fortunately, Yang Kai didn't last long, and after a while, he put down the dragon scales and opened the jade bottle. Faintly, a dragon chant came out from the jade bottle, and a cloud of red light suddenly exploded, extremely hot. Yang Kai fixed his eyes and saw that in the jade bottle, a drop of dark red blood turned into a dragon shape, and it was about to rush out of the bottle like a burning flame. True dragon's blood, Yang Kai whispered, quickly closing the jade bottle. How about it? These two things will be exchanged for your Dragon Island token. Zhu Qing looked at Yang Kai anxiously. Yang Kai pondered for a while, nodded and said, things are good things, but in your opinion, the Dragon Island token can only be exchanged for these two things. Zhu Qing pursed her red lips and said in a low voice, it's really a loss. Pretty honest. Yang Kai couldn't help but feel a lot better about her. He didn't know that the Dragon clan has always been proud, so naturally they don't bother to lie. But haven't you refined the secret treasure of the dragon? If you refine these two things again, the power of your dragon transformation secret technique will also increase. Zhu Qing persuaded. Yang Kai smiled slightly and said, when you first saw me, what you said about refining something that didn't belong to me meant those dragon secret treasures. It was only after he knew Zhu Qing's identity that he figured it out. The secret treasure of the dragon is originally a part of the body of the dragon clan. As a dragon girl, Zhu Qing suddenly saw a human refining the secret treasure of the dragon. Naturally, she wanted to take action to punish it and maintain the majesty of the dragon clan. Unexpectedly, he accompanied himself in. Otherwise, she and Yang Kai have never met before, and they have no grievances, so how could they bother him as soon as they come up? Since you know that I have already refined a few dragon secret treasures, how much more strength can I improve? Yang Kai grinned and threw the dragon scales and the jade bottle containing the real dragon's blood back to Zhu Qing. Tossing the Longdao order in his hand, he said, but this thing is a rare commodity to live in. But, Zhu Qing frowned, aren't we friends? A friend is a friend, a business is a business, 1 yard is 1 yard. Yang Kai said seriously, okay, I need to rest, you go out first. Zhu Qing didn't want to leave, she just stared at him with a pair of big eyes. Yang Kai's face sank, and he said, if you don't leave, I will stimulate the origin of the dragon clan. The lonely man and the widow are in the same room, so don't blame me for not treating you as a friend. Zhu Qing was startled, and then she stomped her foot to get out of the way. The ancestral dragon origin has absolute power to suppress her. Even if the power of her bloodline increases a few layers, she will not be able to resist. If Yang Kai is really urged to mobilize the ancestral dragon origin, she may suffer again. After driving away Zhu Qing, Yang Kai smiled. After counting before, the harvest is not small. The top-grade source crystal alone has harvested hundreds of millions, not to mention other treasures. These are second to none, none of which can provide him with strength, but the golden armor heavenly book obtained from Tan Junhao, you can try to figure it out. If it can be refined, it will definitely be of great help to improve your own strength. Taking out the golden armored heavenly book, Yang Kai wanted to check it out to see how many supernatural powers this heavenly book could summon, but he had no choice but to find that he couldn't open the heavenly book without refining it, so he could only give up and erase Tan Junhao's soul first. Brand, and then slowly pour your own Emperor Yuan and divine sense into it to refine this Emperor treasure. Zhu Qing returned to the room, immediately took out the dragon talisman, cast a spell, and an old voice came from the dragon talisman, is everything done? Zhu Qing respectfully replied, not yet. Since it's not done, why contact me? Zhu Qing said, Qinger found the last Dragon Island token. The old voice said, you are lucky. There are 4 clansmen sent out this time, but you were the first to find them. Can you take back the Dragon Island token? Zhu Qing said in shame, nor. The old voice said, hurry up and take back the Dragon Island token, this thing cannot be spread outside, no matter what method you use, even if you grab it, you must grab it. With your strength, there should be few people in this world who are your opponents. Zhu Qing replied, this is exactly what makes Qinger difficult. The owner of the Dragon Island token is not someone else, but the person Chinger mentioned to you before, so, it is not convenient to do it. The Dragon Island token is also in his hands. The elders of the Long clan were extremely surprised. Is this luck or God's will? If it was someone else, with Zhu Qing's strength, he could grab it by force, but that person has the source of the ancestral dragon. Even if Zhu Qing is stronger than him, the suppression of the source's power will make Zhu Qing helpless. Chinger invited him to Long Island, but he didn't agree. Chinger doesn't know what to do now, so I asked the elders to show me. The dragon talisman was silent for a long time, and it seemed that there was nothing to do. After a long time, he asked, what has he done recently? Speak carefully. Zhu Qing immediately told about Yang Kai's battle with many emperors' senior realms in the past few days. After saying that, the dragon talisman laughed. Is this person so amazing? With the cultivation base of the first level of Emperor Zun, he killed the second level and third level of Emperor Zun. The other one is the elder of the Star God Palace. Quote. Zhu Qing said, although I didn't see it with my own eyes, it should be like this. That's easy. The voice in the dragon talisman was full of confidence. You tell him like this. Zhu Qing listened carefully and nodded repeatedly. To be continued. Chapter 2709. 3 days later, Yang Kai slowly opened his eyes and glanced at the golden armored book in his hand, quite helpless. He refined it for 3 full days, but there was no movement in the golden armored heavenly book, and there was no sign of accepting his Emperor Yuan and divine sense at all. This let him know that if he wanted to refine the golden armor book, it would definitely not be possible in a short time. Tan Junhao was able to activate the power of this heavenly book. Maybe he didn't know how many years it took to refine it. But Yang Kai was not discouraged, instead he was pleasantly surprised, because the more difficult it is to refine, the more powerful the Emperor treasure is. It took him more than a year to refine the mountain and river clock in the Sea of Broken Stars. There is no progress in refining the heavenly scriptures, but the 3-day rest has allowed him to fully recover, and the benefits after the war are gradually revealed. Not only has his own Emperor Yuan increased, but his spiritual power has also increased, and he will be promoted in the future. It will definitely be easier if you are at the second level of Emperor Zun. After receiving the heavenly book, Yang Kai scanned the outside with his spiritual mind, transmitted sound, and waited quietly. After a while, watching Si, Kai Yu, I.O., Guizhu Ji Yu Kangyan and others gathered in the wing room. Ying Fei and Zhu Qing, who heard the movement, also rushed over. Everyone, although Tan Junhao is dead, the mind-stimulating Ji Yu he planted is still in your body. I need to get the Ji Yu worm out, so please cooperate. Yang Kai looked at everyone solemnly. Kai Yu was overjoyed when she heard the words, and said, boy, can you get the Ji Yu worms out? You can give it a try. Yang Kai nodded. Logically speaking, heart-stimulating Ji Yu can only be driven by the person who raises it at will. Yang Kai is not proficient in Ji Yu art, and he doesn't know how this heart-stimulating Ji Yu was developed, but he has a slave worm bracelet in his hand. This emperor treasure is the same as the Zanyun knife. It is a relic of the Emperor Chong. Although the slave insect bracelet cannot be used for fighting, it is the nemesis of the world's strange insects. Slave bug bracelets can be controlled. Coincidentally, heart-stimulating Ji Yu is just one of the strange insect sutras, and it ranks at the top of the list. Even the strange insects listed in the heavenly list like the soul-eating worms are restrained by the slave insect bracelet, let alone the heart-stimulating Ji Yu on the local list. Since that's the case, what are you waiting for? I'll be the first. Ji Yu Kangyan responded immediately, and was about to sit in front of Yang Kai in a flash. Io suddenly stretched out his hand, grabbed him back, threw him aside, and said with a cold snort, "Second brother, I didn't move, but you dare to move, are there any rules?" Ghost Ancestor laughed at the sight and said, "If it's about seniority, I should come first, you all get out of the way." Saying that, with a hint of ghost energy, he unceremoniously pushed Io and Ji Yu Kangyan aside, and sat down in front of Yang Kai. The dispute between the three of them was just for a moment, but Yang Kai was stunned, and after a sudden, he understood why they wanted to fight for the first place. Yang Kai only said that he could give it a try, but he didn't give people complete confidence. If something happened after the insect repellent failed, the first person to try it would definitely be in danger. It is precisely because of this that the three of them fought unceremoniously. Kai Yu looked at Yang Kai nervously and said, "Boy, you have to be careful, brother is getting old and can't stand the trouble." Ghost Ancestor said unhappily, Nonsense, I am still young, suzerain, you can do whatever you want. Yang Kai laughed dumbly, and said, don't be too nervous, it's just a heart-stimulating GU. I'm still sure, if you want to test it, I still suppress more than 20 experimental products, how can I not turn around to you? The mountain and river bell was still on the battlefield, suppressing the more than 20 Emperor senior stages. It wasn't that Yang Kai couldn't take back the mountain and river bell, it was just that he had other plans for those 20 people and didn't want to let them go immediately. Hearing what Yang Kai said, everyone relaxed. Elder, relax. Yang Kai looked at Guizhu in front of him and whispered. Guizhu nodded, closed his eyes, and let his mind go empty. Yang Kai flipped his hand, and the slave bracelet appeared on the palm of his hand. He slightly poured Emperor Yuan into it, and activated the slave bracelet. In an instant, a strange force was born in the bracelet, which was the slave of the slave bracelet. Qi. Yang Kai stretched out his hand, wrapped the slave qi around his fingertips, and pulled it to Guizhu's body. His divine sense and Emperor Yuan sent out together, carefully controlling the slave qi to swim in Guizhu's body. Ghost Ancestor snorted slightly, but it was not a serious problem. There is a huge gap between Yang Kai and his strength, so Yang Kai can control this slavish aura very well. If the Ghost Ancestor and Yang Kai's cultivation base are similar, it will not be so easy. In a short while, the slavish air was guided by Yang Kai to the Ghost Ancestor's chest, and precisely found the hiding place of the heart-stimulating GU. As if aware of it, the GU worm suddenly became unsteady and was about to flee, but Yang Kai moved his fingers and tapped Guizhu's chest a few times. The slavish air immediately dissipated, completely enveloping the GU insects. The slavish aura has a natural restraint on these strange insects and insects. Wrapped in this aura, the GU insects can't get rid of it no matter how hard they struggle. Yang Kai's fingers were slowly pulling, slowly upwards, leading the breath to Guizhu's throat, and he clasped his fingers lightly. Guizhu's face changed, and the next moment he opened his mouth, a blood arrow was sprayed out. Yang Kai had been prepared for a long time, and with a wave of his hand, he waved the blood arrow aside, flew towards Zhu Qing, and shouted in his mouth, Miss Qing, thank you. Although Zhu Qing hadn't been notified in advance, her reaction was extremely fast. She opened her mouth, and a scorching flame spewed out from her mouth, directly burning the blood arrow, and even the GU worm hidden in the blood arrow. All of a sudden, couldn't help but rolled his eyes, knowing that Yang Kai saw that drop of true dragon's blood a few days ago and sensed his fire attribute, that's why he was pulled. After the GU worms were expelled, Ghost Ancestor let out a long breath, feeling much more relaxed all over, and jumped out of bed with a happy expression. Fifth sister, come here. Io looked at Qiyu and motioned. Since it is confirmed that Yang Kai can get rid of the GU insects, there is no danger, so there is no need to argue, but he has become modest. But she didn't want Kaiyu's face to turn red and said, it's better for you to go first, Master Hua, and I will come last. Io was startled, but soon understood. He didn't say much, pushed Jiyu Canyon, and pushed him over. With the first experience, Yang Kai will be more familiar with it. After a short while, Jiyu Canyon and Io were expelled from their bodies. Let's go out and wait for you first, Io said, and then walked out together with the others. Everyone was very knowledgeable, and they all left cleanly. Even Zhu Qing obeyed Ying Fei's gesture leave. Hua Qingxi and Kai Yu were left alone. Let me go first. Hua Qingxi pursed her lips and smiled, sitting cross-legged in front of Yang Kai. Close your eyes, Yang Kai said. Hua Qingxi gave him an angry look, as if she was taking advantage of you, and then slowly closed her eyes. Yang Kai's process of getting rid of the GU worms was watched by everyone. He poked a finger on other people's bodies, especially when touching such a sensitive place as the chest. It didn't matter to men, but Hua Qingxi and Kai Yu women, somewhat uncomfortable, naturally inconvenient to be watched by others. There is no way. The heart-stimulating GU is mainly aimed at the GU worms of the heart, and naturally hides near the chest, which Yang Kai has no way to avoid. In the same way, soon Hua Qingxi spit out a blood arrow. Yang Kai stretched out his hand and grabbed the blood arrow in the air. Emperor Yuan shook violently, and it took a lot of movement to kill the GU worm, which took a lot more trouble than Zhu Qing. Hua Qingxi got up slowly, stared at Yang Kai with a smile, with a meaningful expression, and pushed the door away. Stretching out her head and retracting her head, Kai Yu couldn't help but sighed. She could only sit in front of Yang Kai, and said uncomfortably, boy, don't have any bad thoughts. Yang Kai's face was full of black lines, and said, how can it be? Don't think about it, Senior, although I can use force from the air, it is not safe after all. Caillou said. I know. Let's get started. While speaking, she closed her beautiful eyes with an expression of resignation, but judging from the expression on her face, she was still a little nervous. Yang Kai was embarrassed for a while. The person in front of him was his mother-in-law after all. He didn't know where to start for a while, so he could only grit his teeth and focus on doing what he did. When his fingers passed over Caillou's body, Yang Kai could clearly feel that her body was trembling, and her cheeks also flew up red clouds, as if they were on fire. Tightened, the strength in the body resisted involuntarily. If it wasn't for Yang Kai's strength far surpassing hers and easily suppressing her strength, he might cause a lot of trouble just by doing it alone, or he might suffer backlash. After going through untold hardships, he finally forced the yuewen out of his body. Caillou got up, turned her head and walked outside. When she got to the door, she suddenly turned her head and said seriously, "Never tell Qing Luo about this." Anenan. Yang Kai nodded incessantly, "Don't tell me if you kill him." He quickly realized that he was just exercising a yuewen for her, and nothing that violated the common sense of morality and common anger between humans and gods had happened, so why did he do so with a guilty conscience? Staying in place, silent for a long time, Yang Kai shook his head and stood up. Now that everything that needs to be dealt with is almost done, it's time to take a look at the dozens of Emperor prestige realms, and we can't keep suppressing them in the mountains and rivers. With a flash of his figure, Yang Kai came to the battlefield a few days ago. There is no one here, the surroundings are dilapidated, and there are ruins, only a simple big bell is suppressed in place. With a move in Yang Kai's hand, his mind moved slightly, and the Shan clock flew towards him immediately, and quickly became smaller in midair, landing on the palm of his hand. In the place where the mountains and rivers and bells were originally suppressed, 20 or 30 emperors walked back and forth anxiously, and a few of them looked listless. It looked like they had been seriously injured and were meditating cross-legged to heal their injuries. Anyway, none of them was safe. Yang Kai glanced at the seriously injured Emperor's senior stage, and wondered, "Everyone, what's wrong?" He remembered that when these people were suppressed in the mountain and river clock, they were obviously fine. Why didn't they see each other for a few days, and someone was injured? Could it be that they had a fight inside? To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update Group at ch8296929 Dian Hanji. Chapter 27:10 I don't understand what you said. Young Master Yang. Master Yang. Seeing the light again, many Emperor senior stages were surprised and happy, turned their heads and saw Yang Kai, and they all clasped their fists in salute. Although Yang Kai's age is not known how much younger than them, and his cultivation base is not much higher, but based on his performance a few days ago, no one dares to disrespect him. The beautiful woman in palace attire whom Sha Shang knew flew to Yang Kai's face lightly, and bowed gracefully. "I have seen Mr. Yang before." Yang Kai nodded and asked, "Why are they injured?" Hua Yulu pursed her lips and smiled, full of coquettishness, and said in a low voice, "Those friends are probably waiting impatiently, wanting to get out, but they don't have enough strength, so." Yang Kai let out an "oh," knowing it in his heart. "It took many days for me to suppress them all. I am afraid that anyone will feel uneasy. I don't know how Yang Kai will deal with them in the end. Naturally, he has to find a way to come out, but the mountain and river bell is a treasure after all. The ones that can be blasted are probably backlashed by the power of Shan Bell after exerting their strength." Hua Yulu looked around and saw that there were no other people around, but traces of the battle could be seen everywhere. Then she looked at Yang Kai, her breath was calm, and she was not injured at all. She was slightly startled, and said in a low voice, "Young Master Yang, that elder Tan where it goes?" Everyone also looked curiously and wanted to know the answer. When they were suppressed by Shanhejong before, Yang Kai and Tan Junhao had already torn their skins. They must have a big battle. After the suppression of Shanhejong, they told the outside what happened. I don't know, seeing that Yang Kai is safe and sound at this moment, I can't help but have an unbelievable thought in my heart. Then Elder Tan will not be beaten away, right? No way. Tan Junhao is the elder of the Star God Palace, and he has a powerful cultivation base of the Emperor's 3-layer mirror. Even if Yang Kai is good, he shouldn't be his opponent, let alone Tan Junhao was still here before, with the power of formation to help. Old Dog Tan is perverted and cruel. He used the banner of Star God Palace to ruin the reputation of Star God Palace. He is called the Elder of Star God Palace. He is actually a cancer of Star God Palace. The shame of the Southern Territory has been punished by this young master on the spot. Already, Yang Kai laughed and said, "It's really gratifying and congratulating." Everyone was stunned, their eyes widened and they stared at Yang Kai stupidly, but no one responded. Yang Kai's face sank, and said, "Why, you don't believe me?" Seeing that he showed signs of getting angry, everyone was shocked, and they didn't even dare to say it. It's just that it's not that they can't believe it, but that it's too unbelievable. If it was Tan Junhao who was standing in front of them now, saying that Yang Kai had been killed, that would be a reasonable ending, but it happened that Yang Kai was standing here alive, and Tan Junhao had disappeared. And, there's nothing to celebrate about this. No matter what people say, they are also the elders of the Xingshan Palace. There are only a few elders like Tan Junhao in the entire Xingshan Palace. Now that they die here, it will break the sky. Once the Xingshan Palace finds out, everyone present will be afraid can't get rid of the relationship. Although they are in the Emperor Senior realm, they are still timid in the face of such a giant as the Xingshan Palace. Hua Yulu forcefully forced a smile, but she didn't show any trace of charm anymore, and asked cautiously, "Young Master Yang, did Elder Tan really be killed by you?" Kill it, what is there to deceive you? Not only him, but even Wu Ming is dead." Yang Kai replied freely, without any hesitation. Then everyone believed him. After all, there is no need to lie about this matter. Killing an elder of the Star God Palace is not a good thing, it may cause fire. Yang Kai does not look stupid, how could he take the initiative to cause trouble? For a moment, the awe of him added another 3 points. Even the elders of Xingshan Palace can kill, how strong is this young man? In this world, is it possible that only the great emperor can suppress him? Young Master Yang, you killed Elder Tan, this matter is troublesome. Hua Yulu frowned, showing a worried look. No matter what Tan Junhao had done before, his identity was there, and he died at the hands of Yang Kai. Xingshan Palace will investigate no matter what. Master Yang, this matter has nothing to do with us, we have no idea what happened behind. Yes, Master Yang, we have no intention of going against the Star God Palace. I'm just here to participate in the auction, I don't know anything else. A group of Emperor Prestige Realm, as if they were in trouble, shouted in one go. Yang Kai didn't know what they were worried about, and sneered in his heart, if he didn't kill Tan Junhao himself, none of them would survive. As the elder of the Star God Palace, Tan Junhao actually used the mind-stimulating GU to control so many Emperor Senior realms. Once the matter was revealed, the Star God Palace would never tolerate him, so he would kill people to silence him, and then put the name of the murderer on Yang open. At that time, he might become a great hero who slays demons and avenges many emperors in the southern region. It's ridiculous that these people are eager to get rid of the relationship, but they are completely unaware of their life-saving grace. Yang Kai didn't need them to be grateful, he knew the world was hot and cold, so how could he expect it? Young Master Yang, hurry up, the farther you go, the better, you can't stay in the southern territory. Hua Yulu suddenly sent a voice transmission to Yang Kai, you go to the northern territory, I heard that there is a forbidden land called frozen soil over there. Even the emperor dare not go deep easily, if there is any place in this world where you can shelter, it is only that place. Yang Kai glanced at Hua Yulu in surprise, he didn't expect that she was a little different from other people, at least he knew how to care about himself. No problem. Yang Kai cast a smile, turned his head and shouted, shut up, why are you arguing? The shouting emperors fell silent all of a sudden. Yang Kai said in a deep voice, everyone, don't worry, this young master is the one who does the work and the other is responsible. Tan Junhao was killed by me. If people from the Star God Palace track him down in the future, you don't need to hide anything. Just tell the truth and it will be fine. Tired of you. As soon as this remark came out, everyone was overjoyed. Master Yang is really high-spirited and upright, I admire you. Thank you Master Yang, if that day really comes, I will definitely not hide it. It's not a pity for that old Tan Junhao to die. Master Yang killed him to clean up the Xingshan Palace, so there is nothing wrong with it. Hearing that Yang Kai was willing to take the blame, everyone was relieved, and they all smiled, and there was no worry before. Stop flattering me. Yang Kai snorted coldly, I have saved your life this time, I don't need you to reciprocate, but I only have one request. Master Yang, please tell me, your lord has orders, and I will never stop. An old man clasped his fists and said. When Yang Kai said that he saved everyone's life, it was not an exaggeration, and everyone knew it well, but Yang Kai's words were so straightforward, which made many people feel a little embarrassed, and gave birth to a feeling of ungratefulness. Tan Junhao is dead. Star God Palace will definitely track it down. If you really find out, I hope you can report everything that happened that day in detail, especially the heart-stimulating GU. Quote. Everyone nodded and said, it's natural. Hua Yulu also said, Mr. Yang, don't worry, even if you don't order this matter, I will not hide anything. As the elder of Xingshan Palace, Tan Junhao has such evil intentions. If it weren't for Mr. Yang's efforts to turn the tide, we would have died a long time ago. The kindness of life-saving should be heartbreaking. If anyone dares to distort the facts and wantonly slander, I will never forgive you lightly. Never give up lightly. The crowd yelled, quite a bit like they were united against each other. Very good. Yang Kai nodded in satisfaction, clasped his fists together and said, then I'll thank you all. Dare not dare. Speaking of this, everyone also understood in their hearts that if everyone really unified their caliber and reported the facts, even if the Star God Palace really tracked them down, they probably wouldn't do anything to Yang Kai and them. In the final analysis, it was Tan Junhao who caused the public outrage. As the elder of Xingshan Palace, instead of safeguarding the reputation of Xingshan Palace, he enslaved so many Emperor Senior realms by means of evil methods. Maybe the Star God Palace really wants to thank Yang Kai. Of course, this kind of matter will definitely not be put on the bright side, and how to deal with it in the end is also a matter of Xingshan Palace, and they don't need to worry about it. Since that's the case, then everyone, let's go. Yang Kai waved his hand. Everyone was overjoyed when they heard the words, they clasped their fists together, turned around and wanted to leave. Although Yang Kai didn't mean to embarrass them, but this young man is too cruel, killing people like grass, and staying with him does not feel safe. It's better to stay away from him, otherwise catastrophe might strike at any time. Sister Hua, please wait. Yang Kai suddenly greeted Hua Yulu. Hua Yulu heard that his address was interesting, she smiled and said, what else can Mr. Yang tell you? Yang Kai Dao. Since you are friends with senior brother Sha Shang, then you are also my friends. I will get rid of the heart-stimulating GU for you, so that you don't have any worries. When Hua Yulu heard this, she opened her small mouth slightly, covering her red lips with jade hands, with a surprised expression on her face. She was thinking just now that although she was lucky enough to escape this trip, there was a heart-stimulating GU left in her body. Know how to get rid of it. But not wanting to fall asleep, Yang Kai sent a pillow. What a caring person. Swipe. Those Emperor Senior stages who were about to leave this place also stopped, all of them turned their heads and ears, and some people immediately turned around and flew back, landed in front of Yang Kai, and said with a flattering smile, Master Yang, what did you just say? Can you get rid of the mind-stimulating GU? I don't understand what you said. Yang Kai looked at him solemnly, his head shaking like a rattle. The man became anxious, and said, Master Yang, this. I really heard it. You just said that you want to help this Flower Palace master get rid of the heart-stimulating GU. Yang Kai turned his head to look at Hua Yulu, and asked curiously, did I say that? Hua Yulu didn't know what Yang Kai's plan was, so naturally she couldn't answer, she just pursed her lips and smiled coquettishly, without saying a word, which whetted that person's appetite. To be continued. Chapter 2711 Why Save You? Everyone must have heard it too. The man swept his hand, and many emperors nodded. They all have sharp eyes and ears, although Yang Kai's words are not big, how can they not hear? Your Majesty Yang, you can't favor one person over another. If there is a way to get rid of it, please help me. The man begged. Anyone with a GU worm in their body may not be safe. Although Tan Junhao is dead, who knows what harm the GU worm will do if it stays in the body. If it happens one day, I don't know how to die. At this moment, I heard that Yang Kai can get rid of them, and they all grasped a life-saving straw when they were drowning, and refused to let go no matter what. Hey, Yang Kai sighed heavily, and said helplessly, well, I did say that just now, I can also get rid of the heart-stimulating GU. Really? Everyone was overjoyed, turned around one after another, and landed in front of Yang Kai, looking at him eagerly. Just now they couldn't wait to leave one by one, and now they are afraid that Yang Kai will not be able to drive them away. Heart-stimulating GU ranks high in the list of the strange insect classic. It is ferocious and hidden. It cannot be easily dispelled even in the Emperor Senior realm. If you ignore it for a long time, it will devour the heart veins and eat away the essence and blood of the heart. Tisk tisk, by then, immortals are hard to save, gods are hard to save. I don't know if Yongkai is exaggerating, anyway, everyone's face turns pale when they hear it, and their hearts are beating drums. During this period of time, everyone has also tried to use Diyuan to drive away the heart-stimulating Gu, but it's okay not to move it. The Gu worms actually burrow into the heart veins when it is moved, let alone get rid of it now. Even urging Diyuan has to be careful, yes, for fear of disturbing the Gu worm. Unfortunately, this young master just happens to know a famine gate that can get rid of this thing. Yongkai smiled slightly. Also ask Mr. Yang to save me. Everyone quickly bowed and asked. Yongkai's face sank, and he said coldly, "Why should I save you? Give me a reason." Everyone was stunned, speechless. He heard Yongkai's long speech just now, which showed that he was very familiar with the mind-stimulating Gu, and seemed to have the intention to help them, but when he turned his face, it seemed like a different person. Adapt. But after thinking about it, there is nothing wrong. Yongkai is not related to everyone, and he is not a good person with a warm heart. Why should he save himself? Yongkai Dao. Earlier in Tan Junhao fought against this young master before. If not for this young master's ability, I'm afraid I would have been killed by you long ago, but I have always been magnanimous, knowing that you are forced to do so, and I am too lazy to be as knowledgeable as you. Then use Dibao protecting you and others. Without Tan Junhao's driving, I don't need you to repay me for saving my life. It's the best of humanity. Now you still have to spend my heart and soul to help you get rid of Gu insects. Isn't it too much? Everyone was speechless and ashamed. Although Yongkai's words were sharp, but they were telling the truth. They really couldn't refute anything. These people were indeed enemies of Yongkai before, and they were indeed saved by Yongkai, and now they want to let others get rid of the Gu worms for themselves. Isn't this an insatiable, difficult thing for others? For a moment, everyone looked at me and I looked at you, all with embarrassing expressions. Hua Yulu's beautiful eyes were bright. She pursed her lips and smiled, and said softly, "Young Master Yang, all of you are the masters of the major sects in the southern region. If you don't get rid of this mind-stimulating Gu, once it breaks out in the future, everyone may die. Worrying, when the time comes, many sects will be leaderless, and the southern region will be in chaos. Mr. Yang is kind, please help them." She could see that Yongkai was playing hard to get. If he really didn't want to get rid of Gu worms for these people, then there was absolutely no need for him to stay and say such things just now. He clearly wanted to tell everyone about his ability, and he almost had the words, "Hurry up and beg me," engraved on his face. Now it's just a matter of not scatter eagles if you don't see rabbits. Although Hua Yulu is a girl, but she has a delicate mind, she can't see this, so she secretly contributes to the flames and cooperates. What Palace Master Hua said is very true. Please Master Yang to help me. No matter whether everyone saw Yongkai's intention or not, it was right to ask sincerely, and they were somewhat grateful to Hua Yulu meaning. Now in the 20th and 30th Emperor Senior Realm, only Hua Yulu has a little friendship with Yongkai, and she is willing to come forward to intercede, which makes people grateful. Yongkai looked embarrassed, but he gave Hua Yulu 120 praises in his heart, thinking that this woman is really Weiji Langson, and he doesn't know what relationship she has with Sha Sheng, so Sha Sheng can't let Sha Sheng know if she will take advantage of her later up. Looking at the words and expressions, seeing that Yongkai's attitude is not as firm as before, and everyone knows that things are hopeful, they naturally make persistent efforts and keep asking, like hundreds of ducks croaking for a while. Okay. Yongkai raised his hand, interrupted their yelling, and frowned tightly. I can do it to get rid of Gu worms, but it will cost a lot, and so many people need to get rid of them. This young master must mobilize his own essence and blood, and I am afraid that after 3 to 5 years, he will not be able to fight with others. This is too exaggerated, no one believes it, but no one dares to refute it. Now what he says is what he says, anyway, it goes in one ear and out the other. Yongkai squinted at everyone. I have worked so hard, you can't make me work for nothing, right? After all, this sentence is the key point. Hua Yulu covered her mouth and snickered. Everyone also wiped the cold sweat from their foreheads, and one asked cautiously, "Then Master Yang, what do you want?" "What do you have?" Yongkai asked back. Hua Yulu immediately stepped forward, took out a space ring, offered it with both hands, and said, "Young Master Yang, this is the 12 million high-grade source crystals that I have prepared for this auction." At that time, it was the reward for expelling the heart-stimulating Gu for the concubine. Yang Kai wondered. Sister Hua misunderstood me, this young master is not trying to repay me with kindness. Everyone's faces darkened when they heard this, and they were all slandering in their hearts. Didn't they want to do what they did? Just now they clearly asked themselves and others what they have, but now they dare to say that they are not repaying favors, it is simply shameless especially. Hua Yulu smiled gently, and said, Young Master Yang is benevolent, I naturally know it, but I don't have anything to thank, and I'm afraid some treasures will not be appreciated by Yang Kai's strength. If even these sources if Mr. Jing doesn't want it, then the concubine can only agree with her body. As she spoke, 2 red clouds flew up on her face, she looked shy, her beautiful eyes were almost dripping water. Yang Kai's face was full of black lines, and he took Hua Yulu's ring with his hands, saying, Since Sister Hua insists, then I have no choice but to be disrespectful, haha. Hua Yulu immediately gave him an angry look, with a look of resentment. Yang Kai said sternly, The exorcism of Gu worms can't be disturbed, Sister Hua, come with me. As soon as the words fell, he urged the emperor to fly to a room that was still intact near the Yuan dynasty, followed by Hua Yulu. Master Yang, what about us? Someone shouted from behind. Wait. Entering the room, Yang Kai took the lead in finding a place to sit cross-legged, pointed at Hua Yulu in front of him and said, Sit. Hua Yulu nodded slightly, and sat down in front of Yang Kai in a flash. Yang Kai picked up the ring, put it in front of Hua Yulu, and said with a smile, This time I have to thank Big Sister Hua. Without her cooperation, things would not have progressed so smoothly. Although those Emperor's senior realm were forced to do so before, they were indeed enemies with him. Although Yang Kai would not kill them, he would not let them go so cheaply. I plan to blackmail them severely, anyway, they are all here to participate in the auction, who doesn't have 10 to 20 million high-grade source crystals? Surprisingly, Hua Yulu was so upbeat. Accepting her ring before was just a show, so Yang Kai couldn't really be greedy for her origin crystal. Glancing at the space ring, Hua Yulu smiled slightly and said, Young Master Yang doesn't want Yuan Jing, does he really want a concubine to agree with you? Well, the concubine's body is nothing, I'm just afraid that young Master Yang will dislike the concubine's body, fallen woman. As he spoke, he became saddened. Yang Kai felt overwhelmed, thinking that this woman is a natural talent for acting, if she continues talking, he is afraid that he will give up, so he wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said with a dry smile, Sister Hua misunderstood, you have helped me over and over again, how can I have bad thoughts about you, I only have gratitude in my heart. Hua Yulu was about to cry and said, Mr. Yang really dislikes being a concubine, that's all, for such a romantic and suave character, you must be surrounded by beautiful women like clouds, how can you look down on being a concubine? Stop making trouble, Yang Kai sighed heavily, with a helpless expression on his face. Only then did Hua Yulu chuckle, and said with a smile, Okay, I won't make fun of you. I feel very interesting in my heart, when Yang Kai displayed his supernatural power a few days ago, he was like a ferocious beast that chooses to devour people, its momentum is overwhelming, making people afraid to look directly at it, only to find out today that the ferocious coat has taken off after that, this young man was so interesting. Putting away the space ring, Hua Yulu said, Thank you, young Master Yang, for that. 12 million high-grade source crystals is a great wealth for her sect, if Yang Kai really took it away, the cultivation of the disciples in the sect would definitely be a problem. I would like to ask Mr. Yang to show me what I should do as a concubine. No longer teasing, Hua Yulu's expression also became serious. Just relax your mind and body. Yang Kai said, there may be some abruptness later, please don't blame Sister Hua. Hua Yulu glanced at him curiously, but didn't ask any more questions, she closed her eyes meekly, and let go of her body and mind as Yang Kai instructed. Yang Kai immediately let go of his actions. Not long after, Hua Yulu suddenly opened her mouth and spat out a bloody arrow. After opening her eyes again, Hua Yulu's eyes were like spring water, her cheeks were flushed, and even her fair neck was stained with a deep red color. She also didn't expect that Yang Kai's so-called abruptness was actually touching the sensitive part of her chest, and the strength and heat penetrated by the fingertips made her feel ashamed. If there were no previous temptations, Hua Yulu would definitely I thought Yang Kai was a lustful apprentice. However, Yang Kai didn't mean to be moved by the tentative words before, so it was naturally impossible to take advantage of her in this way. To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update Group at ch8296929 Dian Hanji. Chapter 2712 Heavy Responsibility and Long Way to Go. Is that all right? Hua Yulu asked. Naturally. Yang Kai nodded. Hua Yulu was stunned. She had heard Yang Kai say that expelling Gu worms would take a lot of effort, and thought it would take a lot of work, but it turned out that it was only a few dozen breaths, and Yang Kai didn't use much strength at all. Mr. Yang's business is really profitable. Hua Yulu admired it extremely, thinking that there are 20 or 30 Emperor Senior Realm in the future. Yang Kaiden will earn 200, 300 million or more high-grade source crystals this time. This is simply stealing money. It's just a small fight, earning some hard work. Yang Kai smiled, raised his hand and said, Sister Hua, please call the next person to come in. Let them abide by the order. Whoever dares to loot, don't blame this young master made me look bad. Understood. Hua Yulu got up gracefully, thanked her and turned to the layman, and after walking a few steps, she turned her head and said, Mr. Yang, if you have time in the future, please come to my Baihua Palace as a guest. The couch welcomes you. 100 Flowers Palace. This is the first time Yang Kai has heard of it, but there are many sects in the southern region, so it is normal for him not to have heard of it. On the contrary, he has seen a lot of Baihualu. It seems that many cities in the southern region have a Baihualu. In that building, tisk tisk. Sending Hua Yulu away, Yang Kai sat on the spot and pondered for a while, then suddenly raised his hand and slammed a hammer on his chest. Puff. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and Yang Kai's expression suddenly became sluggish, as if after a big battle. A person pushed the door and entered. He couldn't stop laughing, and was about to speak. When he saw Yang Kai's appearance at first glance, he was shocked and said, Master Yang, what's wrong? Yang Kai said weakly, It's nothing, just sit down, I'll help you drive the Gu worms out. The man was overjoyed, but still worried. Do you want to rest for a while? I can wait. Yang Kai was still fine before, but now he is spitting out blood, and he looks listless, obviously because it took too much to expel Gu worms. It doesn't matter, if you let you sit, you can sit. Yang Kai waved his hand and said, You are not at ease with the Gu insects in your body, it is better to get rid of them as soon as possible. Hearing this, the man was overwhelmed with gratitude, and obediently presented a space ring containing tens of millions of high-grade source crystals. Yang Kai put it away, and immediately prepared it in the same way. Half a day later, Yang Kai's figure flickered, and he appeared in the previous wing, refreshed, with a ruddy complexion, not as sluggish as before. Everyone is waiting. Seeing him appear, they all surrounded him. Yang Kai glanced at Yi Hen and said, Sect Master Yi, what are your plans now? Yi Hen sighed, and replied, Let's go back to Chenyi sect first and then worry about it. All right, Yang Kai nodded. Although Chenyi Zong was destroyed, it was the home of Yi Hen and others after all. They were imprisoned for more than a year. Now that they have regained their freedom, they naturally want to go back and have a look, not to mention that there are hundreds of surviving people in Emperor Tiangu. Disciples still need to be resettled. I will see you off with the Demon King, and I just have something to discuss with Sect Master Yi. Then there will be Master Lao Yang and the Demon King. Yi Hen looked grateful, thinking that Yang Kai sent them off specially, and with these two escorts, he didn't have to worry about any danger along the way. Everyone set off immediately, left Liang City, and flew all the way south. Yang Kai, I have something to tell you. On the way, Zhu Qing suddenly said via voice transmission. This dragon girl has been by her side all the time, and she doesn't know what she means. Anyway, she doesn't have much malice towards herself, so just follow. Yang Kai is not easy to drive people away. What? Yang Kai turned to look at her. Zhu Qing paused and stopped in place. Yang Kai frowned, waved his hand to let Ying Fei take the others to go first, and stayed behind himself. When the figures of everyone disappeared, Yang Kai said, What is so mysterious? Zhu Qing said, Aren't you worried at all when you killed the elders of the Xingshan Palace? Yang Kai smiled and said, Are you worried about me? Zhu Qing pursed her lips and said, I am not related to you, so what does it matter to me whether you live or die? Then you ask this. Yang Kai stared at her with interest. Zhu Qing looked a little uncomfortable. She turned her eyes away and said, No matter what mistakes that Xingshan Palace elder made, his identity is there after all. If you kill him rashly now, I'm afraid Xingshan Palace won't let it go. Moreover, the matter this time involves so much that you can't hide it even if you want to, and the Star God Palace will definitely track you down. I didn't want to hide it either. Yang Kai smiled slightly. The main reason why he didn't kill the 20 or 30 emperors senior realm is to let them give a confession so that the experts from the Star God Palace can investigate. Otherwise, if those people are really dead, then he said everything is one-sided, not enough to be trusted. It's different now. The 20 or 30 emperor senior realm spoke in the same way. Even if the Xingshan Palace really tracked it down, Yang Kaisheng couldn't be blamed. Of course, if people insist on protecting their shortcomings, there is no way. You're not worried at all. Seemingly disbelieving Yang Kai, Zhu Qing turned her head and looked at him, trying to see some traces of insincere words on his face. Yang Kai laughed and said, "People in my generation are happy to be kind and enmity, worry about this and that, what's the point of living?" Zhu Qing looked at him in astonishment, not knowing what to say. After being stunned for a while, she said, "I suggest you find a place to hide for a while." Yang Kai sneered. Someone said this before. Hua Yulu had advised him to hide in the forbidden frozen land of the Northern Territory before, but now Zhu Qing actually said the same thing. The Star God Palace is the great emperor's sect after all. If you really want to trouble me, even though the Star Realm is big, there is no room for you, so don't hide, don't hide. Yang Kai waved his hands again and again. How could there be no place to hide? Zhu Qing smiled slyly. I knew there was a place in this world where you could hide. Even if Emperor Mingyu came in person, he wouldn't be able to trouble you. You don't want to say Long Island, do you? Yang Kai squinted at her. Zhu Qing nodded and said, "It's Long Island." Tisk tisk. Yang Kai smacked his mouth twice, touched his chin with his hand, and suddenly turned around Zhu Qing. What are you doing? Zhu Qing felt extremely uncomfortable being looked up and down by his eyes, and couldn't help tightening her clothes. I'm curious. Yang Kai stood in front of her, grinning. You've tried every means to get me to Long Island, what are your plans? The last time she said that she wanted to go to Long Island by herself, it was not too obvious at that time, and Yang Kai didn't care, but this time the old words were mentioned again, but Yang Kai saw some clues. Could it be that this chick felt that she couldn't beat her, and wanted to fool her into going to Long Island, and then called a group of brothers and sisters to gang up on her? Sure enough, the most poisonous woman's heart. What plans can I have? Zhu Qing's eyes flickered a few times, avoiding Yang Kai's sight, and the appearance of 300 taels of silver here made Yang Kai feel that there was a ghost in it. Then maybe. Yang Kai shook his head and said seriously, maybe you have taken a fancy to me and want to take me back and do whatever you want. You fart. Zhu Qing's nose was twisted with anger, and she had never seen such a shameless person. Yang Kai laughed loudly, turned around and chased Ying Fei and the others. Wait, Zhu Qing was in a hurry, feeling very annoyed in her heart. Why did the methods taught by the elders not work at all? Originally thought that when he said this, Yang Kai would have to be grateful and go to Long Island with himself to avoid the limelight, but he didn't know that this guy didn't take killing the elder of Star God Palace seriously at all. This task of mine seems to be a long way to go. When will it be completed? ... Chiba sect is in ruins, with broken walls everywhere. Yi Hen and others flew over, all of them looked sad and hurt. After a while, everyone arrived at Emperor Sky Valley. Yang Kai opened the space magic circle of Emperor Sky Valley, and let everyone enter it. Meeting the hundreds of surviving disciples again, Yi Hen burst into tears, feeling that he had failed the high expectations of many ancestors, and he blamed himself endlessly. Of the huge foundation, only the Emperor Tiangu is still intact. Even with the 9 heavenly puppets in his hands, Yi Hen didn't know how to rebuild the sect for a while. Yang Kai wandered around in this Emperor Sky Valley. Zhu Qing followed him like a tarsal maggot. She couldn't get rid of her, and tried to persuade him to go to Dragon Island from time to time, which made Yang Kai very annoyed. If it wasn't for her not having any malice towards him, Yang Kai would have knocked her out with a punch, first that and then that. You wander around, what are you looking for? Zhu Qing followed Yang Kai around for a long time, almost running the entire Emperor Sky Valley several times, and finally couldn't help asking. Men do things, women shut up. Yang Kai ignored her, and finally cast his eyes on the valley, nodding slightly. Zhu Qing turned pale with anger, stomped her feet, turned and flew away, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Quite tempered, Yang Kai glanced at her back and sneered. With a sweep of his spiritual sense, he found Yi Hen's location, and Yang Kai immediately appeared beside Yi Hen under the ups and downs of the space law. Master Yang. Yi Hen hurriedly stood up. Yang Kai waved his hand, signaling him to sit down and talk, and then said, Sect Master Yi, can you think about what to do in the future? Yi Hen let out a long sigh, and said, There are so many things to know, I don't know where to start. But after going through this, ye can understand a little bit. Want to hear the details? Yang Kai stared at him. Every man is innocent, but he is guilty. Yi Hen said sadly. Although my Chenyi sect has 9 heavenly puppets, there is no emperor-level powerhouse in the sect, and it is impossible to exert the full power of the sky puppets. Even if Yi Mo intends to revive the Chenyi sect, with the current manpower and situation, I'm afraid it will only lead to disaster. Yang Kai nodded and said, then Sect Master Yi intends to improve his strength first. Yi Hen said, it's indeed the plan. Fortunately, there is a strong aura in Emperor Tiangu. If there is 3 to 5 years, Yi should be able to be promoted to Emperor Zun. At that time, if he comes out of the mountain again, he will have the power to protect himself. Yang Kai smiled and said, Sect Master Yi is very considerate. After a pause, Yang Kai said, but I have another suggestion, I wonder if Sect Master Yi would like to hear it. To be continued. Chapter 2713 Better Place to Go. Master Yang has the kindness to save Yi, and he is even more kind to my Chenyi sect. If you have anything to say, it doesn't matter. Yi will listen to you. Yi Hen said seriously. Yang Kai smiled and said, DTN Valley is really good, there is no need to worry about your safety here, the aura of heaven and earth is also good, it is very suitable for cultivation. However, although Emperor Tien Valley is good, it is too small and it is not convenient to enter and exit. Sect Master Yi, if you have the heart to aspire to the Emperor's dignity and have a firm heart, it's okay to stay here for 3 to 5 years, but how should those disciples hold on to themselves? Those 500 disciples have varying strengths. If they were really trapped here for 3 to 5 years, they would probably become restless and have demons or something. Yi Hen sighed. Why doesn't Yi know this? But where can we go now? Yang Kai Dao. What if I can provide Sect Master Yi with a better place? A better place? Yi Hen was stunned. Yang opened his arms and said, it is thousands of times bigger than this place, and the aura of heaven and earth is much richer than this place. Let alone 500 people, even if 50,000 people enter it, it will not be crowded. Many spiritual peaks are vacant. If no one cares about it, if Sect Master Yi goes there, it won't take 3 to 5 years, maybe 1 or 2 years before he can be promoted to Emperor Zun. Yi Hen's eyes lit up, and following Yang Kai's description, it seemed that a magnificent map of mountains and rivers slowly unfolded in front of his eyes. But soon he smiled wryly, and said, if there is such a treasured land in Lingshan, it must have been occupied by those big sects, how could it be my Chenyi Zong's turn? Yang Kai smiled and said, Sect Master Yi is right, this treasure land was indeed occupied by a big sect before, but now it has been exterminated. Oh, Yi Hen was astonished, dare to ask Master Yang, where is this place? North Territory, ask Love Sect. Yi Hen frowned and thought about it for a while, then his face changed quickly, and he exclaimed, you mean to ask the Qingzong? Judging by his expression, it is obvious that he has heard of the name of Wenqing sect. After all, Wenqing sect is also the top sect in the Northern Territory, and there is a strong 3-level mirror in the sect. The status of the wheel is comparable to that of Qingyang Temple in the southern region, Tianwu Holy Land and many other big sects, and it is not comparable to Chenyi Zong. Good. Ask the Qing sect to be destroyed, who did it? Yi Hen was horrified, such a huge monster was wiped out by someone, and he couldn't imagine it. In comparison, although the Chenyi sect was also destroyed, there are more or less 500 people left. The disciple also has Emperor Tiangu, but listening to Yang Kai's tone, Wenqing sect seems to have been completely wiped out, otherwise how could they even abandon the foundation of the sect? As soon as the words came out, Yi Hen seemed to think of something again, and said in shock, could it be Mr. Yang? Although the Wenqing sect has Emperor Senior's 3-layer powerhouse sitting in the town, Yang Kai can kill even the elders of the Star God Palace, and there is a demon king around him, so it seems that it is not impossible to destroy the Wenqing sect. This thought startled him. He never expected that the gentle young man would be so cruel, he would destroy his sect at every turn. Yang Kai smiled, didn't deny it, and said, I built a Lingxiao palace on the former site of Wenqing sect, and now that place is also mine. If Sect Master Yi is interested, he can go there for a while. Don't worry about the security issue, I invited a formation master to rearrange the protective formation, which is as solid as gold. Yi Henting's mood fluctuated, and he was full of admiration. Yang Kai is only too old to occupy the former site of a top sect in the Northern Territory and establish a sect. Thinking about myself but not even being able to protect the inheritance inherited from my ancestors, comparing the two, it is simply shameless to live. Yang Kai Dao. Although I created the Lingxiao Palace, there are few people in the sect. The treasure land is basically vacant now, and it is idle anyway. If Sect Master Yi thinks it is okay, he will take his disciples to settle there. Yi Hen asked curiously, "May I ask Lord Yang, how many people does your sect have now?" Yang Kai laughed dryly and raised 3 fingers. 3,000. It's really not much. Yi Hen suddenly realized that for a foundation as large as Wenqing sect, 3,000 people entering it is really nothing. There are 3,000 disciples. No 3,000, no 3,000. Yang Kai wiped the cold sweat off his brow. 300. Yi Hen was stunned. After thinking about it, he was right. Even if Yang Kai really created the Lingxiao Palace, it would be impossible to recruit so many disciples in a short period of time. A new sect recruit must uphold the "it is impossible for everyone to accept the principle of preferring lack to abuse." Even if there are only 300, these 300 people are probably the elite of the elite. Yang Kai had a black line on his face, and said with difficulty, "There is no 300. Yi Hen was startled, and hesitated. Could it be? There are only 3 people for the time being. Yang Kai laughed. Yi Hen couldn't believe his ears. Such a big foundation, there are only 3 disciples. How happy these 3 disciples must be. The rich spiritual energy in the Lingshan Dashuan can be swallowed at will, and many cultivation secret places can naturally enter and exit at will, so the cultivation base is rising slowly. It is said that there are 3 people, but in fact they are just the elder Kei Qing, and there is not even 1 disciple for the time being. The 3 guest elders, what kind of cultivation are they? Yi Hen was surprised. Yang Kai glanced to the side, and stretched out his finger. Yingfei Yaowang counts as 1, and the remaining 2, are the same as him, but this time I let them stay there to watch the house, and didn't come out. Hiss. Yi Hen took a deep breath and said hesitantly, "Are those 2 also, demon kings?" "Yeah." Yang Kai nodded. Yi Henru was hit by a sledgehammer, and he was stunned. He originally thought that it was a coincidence that Yang Kai was accompanied by a strong demon king, but he didn't expect that there were 3 demon kings beside him. A sect has just been established, without even recruiting a single disciple, yet there are 3 great demon kings as the elders of Kei Qing. What a powerful background this is, and many top sects are simply incomparable to it. It is conceivable that, given time, this Lingxiao Palace will surely become the first sect under the Great Emperor's sect in the entire star world. No wonder Yang Kai said that there is no need to worry about safety issues. There is already a large array of guardians to guard, and now there are 2 big demon kings guarding there. Who dares to make trouble? I have to say that Yi Hen was really moved. Compared with Di Tiangu, today's Lingxiao Palace is undoubtedly more suitable for them. The superior cultivation environment alone is not comparable to Di Tiangu. Although Emperor Tiangu is good, but the place is not big after all. 500 disciples practice here, the efficiency must be low, and he still wants to be promoted to Emperor Zun. However, as the head of a sect, Yi Hen had a lot to consider, so even though he was tempted, he didn't immediately agree. After hesitating for a long time, Yi Hen let out a long sigh, and said, "The Chenni sect has been inherited for tens of thousands of years, but it has been suppressed by someone in the hands of Yi Mo. Cut off, Yang Kai smiled and said, "I understand what sect Master Yi is worried about. I asked you to go to Lingxiao Palace, not to recruit you. Don't worry, Chenni sect is still Chenni sect. Go to Lingxiao Palace, sect Master Yi, just rest assured, accumulate your energy, and when you think you can come back and rebuild the Chenni sect, I will never stop you." Yi Hen was hesitant, probably because he was worried that Yang Kai wanted to annex their Chenni sect. Although Yang Kai was very kind to Chenni sect, if they were annexed, then Chenni sect would really be destroyed from now on. No, there will be no such sect as Chenni sect in the future. As the suzerain, with revitalizing the Chenni sect as his own responsibility, how could Yi Hen be willing to see this ending? Yi Hen was stunned when he heard the words, and said in shame, "It is Yi who used the heart of a villain to treat the belly of a gentleman." Think about it too, if Yang Kai really wants to annex their Chenni sect, he can just surrender by force. He has to agree if he promises, and he has to agree if he doesn't agree. Why bother to tell him so much? Sect Master Yi has his own considerations, I understand. Yang Kai smiled slightly. Since Mr. Yang is so loving, Yi Mo and Chen Yizong will be disrespectful. I will remember the great kindness and virtue in my heart. Yi Hen bowed and said, "It's just, the journey to the Northern Territory is far away. How to get there? I have my own arrangements. After the matter was finalized, Yang Kai immediately set up a space law circle in the center of the valley. The reason for bringing people like Chen Yizong to Lingxiao Palace is because Lingxiao Palace is now empty, and they can increase their popularity if they go, and because Yang Kai is quite interested in Chen Yizong's puppet technique. The so-called cannibals have short mouths and soft hands. So many people from Chen Yizong went to Lingxiao Palace, and after a long time, it will be settled, which means that Lingxiao Palace has the way of puppet of Chen Yizong skill. The people on Gloom Star are not very strong, and the puppet technique is suitable for them. The third thing is that Yang Kai wanted this Emperor Tianggu as a transit point for the space magic circle. Emperor Sky Valley is an independent small world. After the outer space magic circle is destroyed, no one can open it except Yang Kai. It is absolutely safe to arrange the cross-domain space magic circle in Emperor Sky Valley. Don't worry about being destroyed. Yang Kai still has some Void Spirit crystals and Void Spirit Jade left in his hands, almost enough to set up a cross-domain space magic circle. After some busy work, in less than half a day, a brand new magic circle stood up in the valley. Zhu Qing has been watching from the sidelines. She was shocked. Until this time she didn't know that Yang Kai had such accomplishments in space power. Yi Hen also took advantage of this time to inform the 500 disciples of his decision. Naturally, no one objected. On the contrary, when they heard that they were going to the Northern Territory, many people were very interested. For people like them, relying on their own abilities, they might not be able to go to the Northern Territory for the rest of their lives. Now that they heard that they were going to a place hundreds of millions of miles away, they were naturally very curious, not knowing what the Northern Territory looked like. Everything was ready. Yang Kai ordered Yingfei to take a step ahead and play a striker, and then arranged for the 500 disciples of Chen Yisek to step on the space circle in turn. Every time the magic circle is opened, a lot of source crystals are consumed, and at most it can only transfer 20 or 30 people at one time. The teleportation alone cost Yang Kai nearly 100,000 high-grade source crystals, which made Yi Hen feel distressed. To be continued. Closing parenthesis. Chapter 2714. How difficult is this? Notice inside. Sorry, my stomach has been uncomfortable recently. I went to the hospital without eating or drinking in the morning, and then, chronic gastritis, gastric erosion, chronic cholecystitis with multiple polyps. I really don't know if I don't check. I was shocked when I checked, and I got back a lot of medicine. Let's take a break today. Let me take a break to suppress my shock. More than 500 people quickly teleported over. Yang Kai was the last one to jump onto the space magic circle, and just stood still. When the fragrance came, Zhu Qing lightly landed beside him. Yang Kai said in pain, "When are you going to be with me? Why don't we just go our separate ways, go back to our respective homes, and find our own mothers?" Zhu Qing looked at him seriously and asked, "Will you go to Long Island?" Get out. Yang Kai is now irritable when he hears the word Longdao. Is this how you talk to your friends? Zhu Qing asked angrily. To mention those two words again, my friends don't have to do it. Yang Kai snorted, and said sinisterly, "You have to be careful. When I teleport, I will banish you to the gap in the void, and let you live for the rest of your life. Can't find a way out." Zhu Qing's complexion changed. She took Yang Kai's arm and held it firmly, her full breasts pressed against his arm without noticing it. "You're so close to me, I can't hold it back." Yang Kai looked at her and said solemnly, "I don't know why, as long as I get closer to you, I always want to move." "Then don't mess around," Zhu Qing said a little uncomfortably, moving a little away from Yang Kai. "Got it," Yang Kai replied angrily, urging the space magic circle. The light flashed, and immediately disappeared in place. "Young Master Yang! Young Master Yang!" Just when the vision was restored, two familiar shouts came from my ears, and when I looked up, it was the two demon kings Wu and Zile who were staying behind. I saw Yang Kai again after a few months. They all looked excited, and looked at each other, and there was a sense of rivalry in it. Yang Kai nodded slightly and said, "You two have worked hard." It's not hard, just watch the house, it's nothing, as long as young master orders, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Zile chuckled. Wu immediately patted him on the shoulder and said, "Since you like to look after the house, then this important task will be entrusted to you. Next time young Master Yang goes out, I will follow." Zile's face changed, and he said angrily, "You fart, it's my turn this time." Wu pursed his lips and said, you lost the drink last time, do you want to admit it? Zile laughed loudly and said, how can you take drunk talk seriously? As a demon king, how can you be dishonest? Xie Wu snorted coldly. If you don't accept it, let's fight. Zile puffed out his chest, revealing his strong muscles. Hey, Yang Kai sighed, walked down from the space magic circle, bypassed the noisy two people, came to Yi Hen, and asked with a smile, Sect Master Yi, how is this place? With a shocked expression on Yi Hen's face at this moment, he took a deep breath, feeling the rich aura between the heaven and the earth, and could hardly believe that he had come to such a treasured land of Lingshan. The one who came was still in the southern region a moment ago, and arrived in the northern region in the blink of an eye. Good, excellent, there is no better place than this. Yi Hen praised sincerely. As expected of the foundation of a top sect, with such a strong aura of heaven and earth in an ordinary place, what would those forbidden areas and spiritual peaks look like? Compared with Chen Yizong's foundation, it is simply not at the same level. No wonder the disciples of those big sects grow up fast. With such a good cultivation environment, they must cultivate faster. The 500,000 Leaf sect disciples were also full of joy. If they hadn't been concerned about face, they might have run around and cheered, but they couldn't hide the joy on their faces. Seeing this scene, Yi Hen sighed slightly in his heart. As the saying goes, it is easy to go from frugal to extravagant, but difficult to go from extravagant to frugal. If the disciples are really allowed to practice in this kind of place all the year round, and one day he wants to go back and rebuild the Chenyi sect, it will be difficult. I don't know how many people are willing to go with him. However, he soon turned his face straight and threw away this thought. Now is not the time to think about these things. What he needs to think about now is to step up his cultivation and promote Emperor Zun. Only when the strength has reached the Emperor Senior realm, can it be possible to rebuild the Chenyi sect, otherwise everything is empty talk. Many spirit peaks, Sect Master Yi can choose to live at will, disciples of the noble sect, you can also look at the arrangements, except for some forbidden areas in the sect that are covered by formations, other places can be visited. Yang Kai warned. Thank you, Master Yang. Yi Hen bowed to the ground. Yang Kai nodded, and came to Kai Yu and the others again, looked at them with a smile, opened his arms and shouted, everyone, from now on, this is your home in the star realm. Qiyu and others are different from Chen Yizong, they all come from the same star field, and they have deep friendship. Yang Kai created this Lingxiao palace for the people of his homeland, so Qiyu and others are naturally among them. The suzerain is so capable. Ghost Ancestor chuckled lowly. Ji Yu Kangyan said, now it's time to be called the Palace Master. Ghost Ancestor immediately nodded and said yes, although there is only one word difference between Lingxiaozong and Lingxiao Palace, they are completely different existences, and the scale of the latter is undoubtedly not comparable to the former. Kai Yu turned her head and looked around, said with emotion, if Qing Luo can also come here to practice. Yang Kai said solemnly, I'm also inquiring about how to go back, but I don't have any idea yet. If I can return to the star field one day, I will definitely take them all over. Io patted Yang Kai's shoulder and said in a deep voice, it's really not easy for you. It has only been so many years since he entered the star world alone, and he has acquired such a large family business. Although he only saw his scenery, Io knew that there must be many hardships and inhumane sorrows behind it. What's more rare is that, even though the strength status has become different from before, Yang Kai has not forgotten his roots. Io is extremely satisfied with this son-in-law. Don't stand still, let's find a place to live. Yang Kai smiled slightly. Let's go, let me go with the old man to see how big this house is. Ghost Ancestor greeted, and immediately turned into a ball of ghostly energy and flew forward, and several people followed excitedly. Although they had been living in Chen Yizong before, Yi Hen treated them very well, but after all, they were dependent on others, but now it is different, this Lingxiao Palace is their own place, which gives them a great sense of belonging. Yi Hen clasped his fists and said, Master Yang, Yi also took these boys to see. Sect Master Yi can do whatever he wants. Yang Kai smiled slightly. Hundreds of people cheered for a while, and all of them left all at once, as if they had been beaten with chicken blood. Wen Qingzong is very big, and now it is estimated that it will take at least a few days to choose a place to live. Yang Kai turned his head and looked aside, said, Sister Hua, why don't you go? Hua Qingxi smiled and said, no need, just find a place to live later. She was born in Xingshan Palace, so she is not surprised by such a cultivation environment, so she is naturally not like Ghost Ancestor Yi Hen and others. Yang Kai's eyes flashed, and said, "What are you worried about? Star God Palace? Or are you blaming me for killing Tan Junhao?" Watching Si glanced at him, shook her head and said, "Master, that person committed suicide, I will not blame you. And even if the matter is tracked down by Star God Palace, I am afraid it will not be blamed on you. It's just, quote, just what? After all, I am a disciple of the Star God Palace. Now that I have followed you to the Northern Territory, I must have abandoned the sect." Watching Si laughed at herself with a bitter face. Yang Kai said strangely, "You didn't do anything to be sorry for Xingshan Palace, why talk about turning your back on it?" Watching Si put her hand on his forehead, said with a slight smile, Okay, I won't tell you these things. Anyway, I will be a member of your Lingxiao Palace from now on, if the Sun Star God Palace really comes to you. I'll just beat you back, and the Star God Palace won't let anyone who dares to rob me," Yang Kai said fiercely. Watching Si nodded in satisfaction, smiled and said, "Anyway, I'm on your thief ship. Alright, I'll find a place to live." While speaking, his figure flickered and flew into the distance. Yang Kai stared at her back for a while, shook his head slightly, then looked at Xilei and Xiewu and said, "Nothing happened recently, right?" Xilei scratched his cheek and looked at Xiewu. The latter clasped his fists and said, "Back to young Master Yang, nothing major happened, but many warriors in front of the sect came to pay homage to the Lingxiao Palace every day, and we ignored it. Besides, Miss Ji Yao, I came here twice, and went back when I saw you were not here. I told me to go to Bingxin Valley when I told you to come back. It seems that there is something wrong." "I see." Yang Kai nodded, "Then I'll go and have a look." While speaking, he stepped onto the space law circle in a flash. Zhu Qing stood beside Yang Kai without saying a word. Yang Kai squinted at her. "You want to follow? Are you a follower?" Zhu Qing said calmly, "Either you agree to come with me, or I will follow you." Yang Kai looked at her with a distressed expression. "What kind of grudge do I have with you? If you want to torture me like this, I warn you not to push yourself too hard, otherwise I will be rude to you." When Xilei heard this, his eyes widened immediately, and he rubbed his fists and said, "Young Master Yang, just go, leave this chick to me, and I promise that even her old lady won't recognize her if you beat her." Okay. Yang Kai was overjoyed. He gave Xilei a thumbs up, and said, "Old Niu, if you can handle her, I will reward you a lot, and you will be rich and prosperous." Xilei laughed loudly. "How difficult is this?" While speaking, with a hint of demonic aura, Zhu Qing was slapped directly with a big palm like a cattail leaf fan. That fierce posture did not mean to feel pity for the sweetheart at all. Zhu Qing's face turned cold, and she glared at Xilei with her beautiful eyes. She and even the Supreme Dragon clan were accommodating to Yang Kai. That was because Yang Kai was the source of the ancestral dragon. A demon king dared to speak nonsense in front of her, and the grievances he suffered on Yang Kai broke out in an instant. Fen punched out, and lightly greeted Xilei's slap. Xilei frowned, although he said that Zhu Qing would not be recognized by her old mother, but he also saw that she and Yang Kai did not seem to be enemies, so naturally he knew that he couldn't really be cruel. Otherwise, if he beat this chick if he is dead, he may not know how young Master Yang will punish himself. He is a demon king, with a body of copper skin and iron bones, and he is so powerful that even the Emperor Zun's three-layer mirror would not dare to challenge him head-on. Seeing that the other party was about to confront him head-on, Xilei didn't dare to use all his strength, quickly withdrew his strength, and said with a grinning smile, "Little girl, her hair hasn't even grown yet, she dares to push you so hard to let you see me." Quote. Bump. Fists and palms staggered. Before he finished speaking, the rhino thunder turned into a bolt of lightning, flew out straight, and directly hit a mountain peak hundreds of feet away, knocking out a big hole in that mountain peak.